this is Courtney from Willow's Bloom, and I am so excited to talk to you today about the Capricorn Full Moon, which is happening at 3 degrees of Capricorn. So, I did pull some cards on this. There's kind of a lot I want to talk to you guys about, but I do want to mention some of the things that I was seeing up front. So, first of all, if we know anything about Capricorn, it is all about hard work. People who are Capricorns are usually very dedicated to what they do, very diligent. They typically have a lot of self control because the moon is in Capricorn, and because it's a full moon, the sun is going to be directly opposite it in the opposite sign, which is Cancer. So this is always interesting because there's kind of like this dichotomy between Cancer, which is really feeling, very heart centered, and Capricorn, which is a little bit more analytical, very earthy, very grounded, and like work oriented. So we have automatically this juxtaposition occurring at this full moon, and I think it can kind of bring about a need or even a desire to have a little bit more self control over our emotions, and this is really great for doing hard work. I literally wrote hard work in my notes, and then I pulled the 8 of Pentacles, which says hard work. So I feel like a lot of what's happening at this time is going to be around hard work, also around planning with the 2 of Wands. And what comes up with this in astrology is the fact that Mercury is also making a trine to Saturn, and Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn. So if you don't understand what I mean by that, totally fine. Basically, Mercury is our planet of thinking and communication, and Saturn is a planet of hard work, of commitment, just all the things that Capricorn typically represents, of seriousness. So these planets are in a positive conversation with each other and telling us to really plan for the future and commit ourselves to what we plan and actually do the hard work and see it through. And what's beautiful about this full moon is that the moon is making a sextile, a positive aspect, to one of the most beneficial planets that we have, which is Jupiter, especially Jupiter in Pisces. Jupiter is exalted or very happy. It feels at home in Pisces. And Jupiter brings us blessings. It actually, mixed with the energy of Saturn and Capricorn, it brings blessings from our hard work, well-earned things that we deserve. And so this is really what I see happening at this full moon, is some kind of culmination, because that's what a full moon is, where we start to see a little bit more rewards for our hard work. And I also think it's equally planting the seeds to continue to work hard so that we begin to see more results long term. So I feel like we're getting the inkling of what's coming in. We're getting some results at this full moon, but I also think we're going to be setting the stage for bigger and better results later. And I think a lot of this Capricorn full moon is asking us to practice that resilience. When I'm saying emotional control, I think that's going to be important at this time, specifically because we have Venus opposite Pluto. And this is a very challenging thing in terms of relationships. Venus is a planet of harmony, of understanding one another, of creating bonds. And Pluto is a very destructive planet that tends to bring up a lot of inner turmoil, typically from past lives or from childhood, if you don't believe in past lives. And I specifically pulled a card for this to understand what this opposition might mean for us at this time. What could come up in relationships? And I got the kunzite. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. This crystal, which is really talking about childhood wounding and us closing ourselves off. So I feel like there is, again, this dichotomy here of like the emotional nature versus the side of us that wants to be practical and protect ourselves from feeling, which Capricorn moons, I'm a Capricorn moon, I know this energy really well. We tend to like control our emotions and try not to feel volatile. We try to maintain that sense of control and stability, but this can backfire because you close yourself off and you're not really opening up to people in a genuine, vulnerable way in the moment. So this Kanzai card is basically saying that our childhood wounding is what's causing us to feel like we need to put up our defenses and not be honest and open with people. So the shadow side of Venus opposite Pluto that's going to occur around this full moon is going to be difficulties in relationships that result in you closing off. I think a lot of us will experience difficulties in relationships, but the light side of us is how we react to it is going to be basically us being vulnerable, being honest, being raw about how we feel and how we've been hurt in the past. So I feel like a lot of us are going to be presented with opportunities at this time to re-examine relationships under kind of a harsh light, maybe some challenge coming up, maybe you have people manipulating you or you feel manipulative, um, or Pluto can tend to bring up like power struggles. So maybe you aren't seeing eye to eye with somebody and they want their way, but you want your way. Pluto can also bring up a lot of jealousy in relationships. So if you've been having anything going on lately and you feel like there might be a reason to be jealous, it will come up at this full moon. It can also bring about just general drama. It can bring about obsessiveness. You can be more focused on other people or on your relationship or maybe on somebody new. Be careful about that, especially because of this. Venus is also aspecting Neptune. Even though it's positive aspect, Neptune can still bring delusion or deceit. So if you are getting a little bit obsessive with someone, it could be based off of something that is not real. So just be careful about that this time. It's just generally it's going to highlight any imbalances in your love relationships or even in any relationships. Specifically, if you're not in a partnership, it might be your relationships with women, since Venus is associated with women, or your relationship with money, or even your relationship with yourself, or just general relationship patterns that come from you. So at this time, those things are going to be highlighted for everyone. This is not like a super common transit, so it's definitely going to be felt. It's definitely going to be intense, especially if it's hitting a personal planet. For me, I'm going to have my moon wedged between this opposition, and I'm a little scared. It's going to make me feel very intensely. So I'm a little bit nervous about that. But basically, what we just need to do is take the higher road with this. What Pluto does is it helps us evolve as a soul. So all of these transits, although they present challenges at the time, are really here to kind of carve us or whittle us out into something that's basically more beautiful, like as if you were carving wood or you were grinding stone down to smooth its sharp edges. These difficult experiences are coming to smooth us out, to round us out, to make us better, fuller people who are more understanding, who are more compassionate, who have more love to give. And I think if you can experience maybe this jealousy and talk about it, be honest about it, not get angry, not say things that you don't mean, or shut down and close off, which is going to be a really big one since I pulled this card. A lot of our childhood wounding is going to come out and we're going to want to shut down. A lot of us are. And we're being called to go into the higher octave and really express those darker sides of ourselves, because Pluto brings out the darkness in each of us. And we all have it really deep in our recesses. And that's the thing about Pluto, is that we don't really see that full shadow until a transit occurs like this, where it brings it to light and we're like, wow, I have that in me. Or that's been driving me on a subconscious level. And because Pluto's traits are very inherent and deep and buried down. And so a lot of stuff is going to come to light. It's going to be uncomfortable because we haven't dealt with it for a while, or we don't want to face it, or it's something that's been this ongoing pattern that we have to break, and that's just never comfortable. And so we're being called again to go to that higher octave, and the Venus making a trine to Neptune is going to help us do that. Neptune is a very spiritual planet. It's very in touch with our intuition. It helps us use our intuition to guide us through difficult conversations, to understand how people might be feeling, to pick up on the subtle shifts in energy so that we can be compassionate and express how we feel, express our shadow, but also react positively to others when they're doing the same to us. And I think Neptune is going to create just more relaxation in general, and it's going to help kind of curve any really challenging experiences that could come from this opposition. It's going to basically make it not as bad as it could be. And so I feel like that's extremely positive. So on one hand, we have this work orientation, planning for the future, doing things to make our goals happen, and Jupiter coming and giving us blessings in that regard. But then on the other hand, we're doing the hardcore relationship work, the internal work, that's going to help us move forward as a soul in this lifetime. And so I feel like it's a really beautiful period of time. There are some other difficult aspects happening. We also have Mars making an opposition to Saturn. This has been ongoing. I actually just did a reading for someone recently who I saw she had Mars opposing Saturn. So in her natal chart. So basically what that represents is delays and frustration. And for her Saturn was in the fourth house of home and family. She was quite literally doing home renovations, and she said that every step of the way there were like delays and blockages. So this is like such a good example of what this energy looks like in our lives. Mars opposing Saturn creates a lot of emotional tension and frustration, and that's why I think it's important for us to really lean on Neptune and that compassion and not saying things that we don't mean, because Mars can sometimes do that. But Mars opposing Saturn is challenging because often what happens is that we will feel angry. Like this Venus opposing Pluto situation is probably going to bring up something that makes us upset, that makes us angry, that makes us frustrated. And we're going to start to feel those things. But the opposition with Saturn causes us to suppress those emotions. So it's going to be slightly challenging for us to express how we feel and the negative things that we're feeling, especially anger, in a healthy way, because either we're going to suppress it or we're going to lash out, or we're going to do kind of a mixture of both. But I think with the opposition to Saturn, a lot of us are going to suppress that anger. And so it's going to be really important to be mindful of this at this time. Like, okay, how am I feeling? Am I allowing myself to feel this? And how can I do this in a healthy way? And this is something I've honestly spent months of my life working on, is just recognizing anger and how do I express it in a way where I'm not going to do something or say something that I don't mean. So there can be frustrations, delays, blockages, and then anger that kind of doesn't have a proper outlet because of this placement. We also have Uranus making a square with Saturn. So this has been ongoing. Again, this is something that is really a theme throughout this entire year. It's exact 3 different times. It happened on February 14th. It was exact on June 14th. So really recently it was exact. And then it's going to be exact again in December 24th of this year. So it doesn't really matter if it's exact or not. Like the exact, what I mean by exact is like they're both at 13 degrees and making a square to each other. So anyway, it's not worth explaining. So it's just more intensity when it becomes exact, but it's been building and like waning and building and waning as the planets move direct and retrograde. So we're feeling this energy all year. We just might have more events occur when it's exact. Possibly depends on what planets it's hitting for you. So if you have planets that are around 13 degrees of the fixed signs, then you're going to be more likely to be impacted. But yeah, so I mean, this personally, I feel like I haven't felt this that much, but a friend of mine who is a Capricorn, I feel like she's been feeling this more. Or like people with, again, the fixed signs, which is Aquarius, Scorpio, Taurus, and Leo. Those are the fixed signs. So if you have something around 13 degrees of those, you're probably going to feel this a little bit more. You might have some kind of situation come up. So Uranus making a square to Saturn can kind of feel a little bit like Mars opposing Saturn, where you want to create change, you want things to move, you want to take action, but there are things that are feeling like they're in your way. Or the change isn't easy and you're trying to make a change to some long-standing patterns, because Saturn often represents things that are routine for us, that are ingrained, that we've been doing for such a long time. And Uranus is here to shake up that energy and be like, stop with this pattern. So people who have fixed signs or planets in fixed signs around 13 degrees are likely experiencing a transformation throughout this entire year where they're trying to break some really ingrained patterns within them. That, or you're trying to make changes in your life and you keep experiencing like delays and frustrations. But at some point, this is kind of like, again, these are those hard experiences that are like smoothing you out. At some point over this next year, you're going to have a lot of, I mean, honestly, it might be like in 2022. You're going to have this like kind of like breakthrough. So it could be now, it could be at one of the times it goes exact. It could be you're having mini breakthroughs along the way, or it could be that you don't truly have your breakthrough until this transit is finished in 2022. But there is a larger metamorphosis occurring. And so I just wanted to touch on it. I don't want to go in super detail because it is such a long, like lasting thing. But because it's exact on the June 14th, I needed to mention that that's again prevalent during this time, so you might be feeling that internally as well. Okay, so that's pretty much what I'm seeing for us. It's a really great time to set intentions of manifestation in terms of what we want to achieve in our life and patterns and old cycles that we want to break in relationships, as well as challenging ourselves to be vulnerable and open up to people and not kind of get stuck within our hermit shell, which is the sun in Cancer sometimes. So I hope that this made sense for you guys. And now I'm going to go into all of the rising signs. And as I mentioned, I think I mentioned it in my videos, but there's always going to be timestamps in the description box below. So you can just find your rising sign there. You don't have to like click around or watch the whole thing. And if you're interested, I wanted to mention one last thing. I recently opened a membership called the North Node Society, and this membership is basically a way for you to kind of like psychoanalyze yourself. And I walk you through a whole astrology course. It's only $20 a month. This course is definitely worth well over $300, and I'm continuing to add content to it each month, doing live calls. So we have the preset course, and then I'm doing live calls to gain kind of to go further into the knowledge. But basically, you'll come out of this fully understanding your chart, and you'll be able to really understand like what patterns you have in your life, what you're really skilled at, what you need to improve upon, and use all those things to make really educated decisions. On top of that, I also have live breathwork calls every month to help you move through those emotions and process things that are coming up. And I also have a trained therapist who comes on, and she's trained in Teal Swan's methodology. I'm not sure if you know who that is, but she's amazing. And so we basically are doing live calls also each month, where we're going to do some where we dive into people's charts and then give them like that live kind of like counseling on the call. And we'll have other calls where she'll just do like the counseling. I put counseling in quotes because like she is trained in therapy, but I don't want to say it's therapy because that's like medically regulated and it's not therapy. So there's a lot to gain from this. There's also a lot of content to help you develop your spiritual practice. So all of this is really to help you find and pursue your purpose, which is just your gifts, like helping you live most in alignment with your talents and your gifts so that you feel happy and fulfilled each day. And one of the things that I really wanted to include was spiritual alignment, because that's what helps you get through the hard times when you're trying to live out your purpose. So things like yoga, meditation, those are all going to be included in there. We're going to do some hypnosis. I'm just really excited. So I hope that you guys join me. We do live calls every month again, and you guys can ask me your questions, and it's just a great place to hang out and get to know each other and have some community support. So I hope that I see you guys in there. It's down below. You can join the North Node Society. Again, it's only $20 a month, and you can cancel anytime if you're not feeling it. And if you just want to check out the astrology course, you can join and watch those videos. So yeah, I hope that is interesting to you guys. And now let's get into all the rising signs. All right, up first we have Aries Rising. So for Aries, this Capricorn full moon is happening in your 10th house of career, and it's making a sextile to Jupiter in your 12th house. This is really interesting because it's so funny. I was just talking to my ex who is an Aries rising, and he's having just a lot of career realizations. He's doing good in his career, but questioning things, questioning if he's enjoying it, what he wants to do with his life, what he needs to be happy in his career. And full moons are often about realizing what is working and what isn't working. So you might have a lot of stuff start to come in around this time around, what makes you happy. And I feel like because of the sextile to Jupiter in the 12th, there's going to be some element here of gaining blessings from losing things. Because Jupiter is all about those blessings, baby. And yeah, literally I just said from losing things, and I just pulled the 10 of Swords, which is endings. This endings card. Yeah, man, I'm telling you. I feel like you guys are meant to be losing something in terms of your career. Maybe it's you switching careers. It might not be that. It might be I kind of feel like it's some facet of your career that needs to change, or the way that you show up. So there is some element here of your career. And if it's not your career, for people who maybe don't work, who are retired, the 10th house has a lot to do with our legacy as well. So there might be some element here of your legacy or your work, your life's work, whatever that was, even if it's like you being such an amazing parent. Like, that's your life's work. And there needs to be it's almost like there needs to be something that you let go of in terms of your thoughts or your emotions or something around either your career, your legacy, or your life's work. Yeah, I kind of feel like it's some like shift in thought. Like, so like you're starting like a new cycle. Yeah, I really feel like you guys are starting a new cycle in your career, because the first card I pulled was the Wheel of Fortune, and it says cycles. And it's funny that you have Jupiter moving through your 12th house right now. I mean, it is going to be moving through there for a while. Like, it just moved into Pisces in your 12th, and then it's going to dip back into your 11th house, and then in 2022 it's going to move there. So the reason I'm mentioning this is because the 12th house is the ending of the cycle. So we have the first all the way to the 12th, and then we start again anew in the first house. So I feel like you guys, over this next like year and a half, are really going to be wrapping up a certain cycle where you're going to have blessings come in as you start to leave things behind. That is the blessing, because once Jupiter moves back into your first house, once Jupiter moves into Aries, you guys are going to have a totally fresh slate, a totally new cycle, and you're going to start accumulating things again. But I feel like a lot of what's happening around this time is going to be about releasing, not just accumulating new. So I'm seeing like a wrapping up of an old cycle. Like, the cycles in the endings card, like, how can you not say that things are being released? Especially because the 12th house is where is oftentimes, like, transits to the 12th house are often linked with things ending or deaths, and it's because, I mean, it's the last part of the cycle. So what's interesting is that the card that was standing in between the cycles and the endings card is the Four of Pentacles. And this is our sense of security. So what happens when we try to end something? Well, our sense of security is rearing its ugly head, and it wants to be heard. It wants to be seen. And it's like, nah, bitch, like, you can't quit your job. You need to make this money. What are you going to do for a living? Or you can't leave this relationship, or whatever that thing is. I do think it's more work oriented because it's in the 10th house. But there is some aspect here of you feeling like, if I end this thing, or if I change this thing, or this aspect of my career even, I might not have like what I need. And there's a feeling of scarcity or lack, and holding on tight to things because of that. So I feel like that's almost like the journey that you have to go through over this entire year, and entire year and a half. I feel like as you kind of coming to terms with having a different sense of security, or releasing the need to have a lot of security, so that you can actually find something that makes you happy and be okay with some endings and transitions. You guys also have Mercury in your 3rd house, and it's making a trine to Saturn in the 11th house. So I feel like you guys are feeling like Saturn moving through your 11th house is a larger journey of feeling okay in a group, like feeling like you found your people, feeling like you're connecting with others that you really see eye to eye with. This has been where your hardships are, where your growth is, where the work is. It's either that, or you creating your own community, your own friends. It's a feeling of connecting and needing to make effort to connect. But with the trine with Mercury in the 3rd house, I feel like your mindset is starting to improve around this. Or at least at this time, you're feeling like, okay, yeah, things are good. Like, I'm actually like making more friends. I feel more social. I found this one group. I'm doing things that I like. There is more of this feeling of of belonging, and your mind is catching up with that. It's like you're finally starting to think thoughts that are like, yes, okay, I like where I'm at with these people. However, you also have Mars in the 5th house opposing Saturn in the 11th. So I feel like even though you're starting to kind of create friendships, find networks, and you've put in a little bit more work into that, I still feel like you're kind of being blocked from fully enjoying spending free time with these people, or fully embracing this element of fun and joy and ease in your life, because you might have a lot of responsibilities. So there might be something that just basically like blocks you from being able to like go out and like fully live your life and just like kind of do all the social things that you want. So for example, my Aries Rising friend has recently just started making friends, so this like makes a lot of sense, but he's like super busy with work. And so he has all these responsibilities that are kind of blocking him from being able to do what he wants with his free time, and that can cause frustrations. If it's not you being able to do what you want, maybe you want to spend more time with your kids, or you want to spend more time on your business, or you want to make like create things, because Mars being in the 5th house has a lot to do with like having energy to create things. But for some reason, like you have maybe responsibility to friends or to a group, or to some kind of like connection, and that's impeding you somehow from like being able to do that. So it could be like the opposite, but regardless, something here is probably frustrating you and keeping you from fully enjoying yourself, being able to spend your time the way that you want to spend your time, whether that's with your friends or creating something or like being with your kids. You guys also have Venus in the 4th house making a trine to Neptune in the 12th. And you have, of course, Pluto in the 10th as well. So opposing Venus. So yeah, Venus moving to the 4th house generally is going to give you like a better time with your family. But since Pluto is in the 10th house opposing it, you actually might have some kind of emotional triggers come up around family, or it can be emotional triggers that are coming up from childhood wounding or from things that you kind of inherited from your parents. But you might experience at this time some kind of like revelations and challenges in terms of connecting with either your family or with others because of issues from your family. And with the trine to Neptune in the 12th, I feel like one of the best things that you can honestly do is like spend a lot of time alone instead of trying to necessarily work through all of this immediately with other people. Your ruling planet just moved into Leo at this time. It moves into Leo. So Mars, as an Aries rising, your chart ruler is Mars. And Mars moves into Leo on June 11th. So you guys have been it's been hanging out in Cancer before this for a long time. So you've been doing probably a lot more emotional processing than usual, or you've had a lot of more emphasis on like how you're feeling than usual. But now that's moving into like fun Leo. It's like you just want to enjoy yourself. But with that opposition to Saturn, it's like, fuck, I can't enjoy myself because I have all this responsibility. I'm pretty sure I was saying that with Mars moving into Leo and being in your 5th house, you just want to have fun. Like, this is your chart ruler. This is a huge part of your personality. You want to go out and enjoy things right now. But with the opposition to Saturn, you have all those responsibilities. It's kind of blocking you. And then on top of this, you have like all this stuff to work through with, your family relationships or your emotions around your family, or even your emotions like around where you're living, like your physical location. You might have some kind of like issues or problems or challenges come up around those things that kind of trigger you emotionally. But with the trine to Neptune, it's saying that it's best to honestly spend a lot of time on your own and trying to connect more with like your inner child and your spiritual self, rather than trying to work through everything on a really conscious level. Because I feel like with the opposition happening with Pluto and your ruling planet in opposition with Saturn, you could get really frustrated that things are not as smooth as they should be going in your life right now. in certain capacities, in these certain specific ways. So I feel like the best way to deal with that, instead of trying to like push through it and like resolve it all, is to rest, to make sure you have time alone to process a lot of what's going on. And I think that's going to help you significantly. You guys also have Uranus in your second house making a square to Saturn. Again, I don't want to go super into this because this has been going on all year long, but I feel like I need to mention it because your ruling planet is in the opposition with Saturn. So having Uranus make this square, kind of adding to this story, is basically saying that part of the way that you can find relief in the situation is by working on your sense of security. Interesting. Because there needs to be a change in your security, like in your finances or your self-worth or your skills. Like there needs to be some change in that area in order for you to finally feel like you're making progress and like living your life on your best terms. So it's interesting that I did pull this card because this is where the change is happening. And that's what I said over this whole next year and a half. That sense of security, that Four of Pentacles, is what is changing. That makes so much sense. For you guys, I pulled the Capricorn card, which is literally what this moon is. So again, this is around work. Like the big emphasis here is around work. But I do feel like there's kind of multiple things going on. Obviously, there's the layer of friendships and the layer of like family relationships in your home life. But really what's happening is a culmination or blessings in your career, and blessings likely coming through endings. And again, I think this is a longer cycle. I don't think this is happening right now for a lot of you. But I feel like it's on the horizon over this next year and a half. At some point, you're going to have some kind of ending in your work. And it's going to feel good. I also pulled the Sunstone. So I'm just going to look up what this means. But if it has anything to do with the sun and astrology, then that is also related to your work. So, and your purpose. So it might be more about like you guys finding your purpose at this time. Let's see. Joy is the highest vibration in the universe, matched and surpassed only by love. When you align yourself with that fabulous frequency, you are flying high, as close to the angels as you can get. This sunstone has come to lighten you up with the radiant vibrance of ecstasy. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, it's basically saying you need more joy in your life. So I kind of feel like this is specifically talking about your career. Like there is some element of your career that is not bringing you as much joy as it should be. And I feel like that is what the ending needs to be in. And the sense of security is like the thing that's kind of getting in your way. And that's where Uranus is to create this change. So I hope that this makes sense for you guys. If so, please like and comment down below. And if you don't know what the North Node Society is, it's my membership where I teach you all about astrology, all about your life purpose. And we have so many amazing tools there. So if you're interested in learning more, check it out using the link below in my description. Bye. All right, up next we have Taurus Rising. So for you guys, this Capricorn full moon is happening in your 9th house of your beliefs, of foreign travel, learning, studying, higher education, teaching, foreign languages, foreign people. Maybe you guys are meeting some new people, especially with the sextile happening to Jupiter. Jupiter is currently transiting in your 11th house. It just entered into Pisces. It's chilling there for a sec, dipping back into Aquarius later. And yeah, you guys are going to get some blessings over this, next year and a half in your relationships when Jupiter finally does enter into Pisces in your 11th house. But yeah, you could be meeting more connections right now that are changing the way that you see the world and see your life. It's also possible you could be meeting foreign people that are just helping you grow as a person. Or you could be like making connections with diverse groups that you never thought you would, and they're really helping you see things from a different perspective. Or you're creating your own community, and that is again like shifting your optimism for life. Yeah, I feel like I love full moons happening in the 9th house because it feels like it's finally we're getting a lot of blessings from all the hard work we've done. And I love it because I just pulled the shadow work card, the moon, and I feel like a lot of the prior work to this is finally paying off. You're finally getting some of those things coming in for you that feel like wow, I'm making progress in my life. Like my life is going well. I'm making connections. I feel like I belong. I have a sense of community. I feel optimistic. I get a chance to travel or learn this new thing or teach this new thing. And it's like, yeah, okay, this feels good. Grand Cross Provoker. I feel like I didn't really pull this card. I'll leave that there just in case. I'm going to pull another one. Here we go. Aries, I am. What's going on here? What is going on here? There we go. Aries, I am. Aries is a sign before you. So Aries is in the 12th house. That actually kind of goes in line a lot with the shadow work, because Aries being in your 12th house and the shadow work is basically what 12th house is, along with the 8th house. They both have a lot to do with our shadows, the unseen, the things that drive us without us realizing it. So you might have, again, a lot of those things either coming to light right now, or like you've done a lot of work on it and now you're getting the blessings from that work that you've done. But there seems to be a heavy emphasis on the unseen or the shadow with this moon and the Aries card I'm getting. I also pulled Aquamarine for you guys. Interesting. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about the astrology and then we can dive further into the cards. So you guys also have Mercury in your 2nd house making a trine to Saturn in the 10th. Great. This looks great. I feel like you guys are definitely starting to feel better in terms of creating the finances that you want in your career. You're like, okay, all right, I see these connections that I've made, or this progress that I've made in my career is like actually adding to my stability. I feel like it's I mean, as a Taurus rising, that's one of the biggest things for you guys, is creating that sense of stability, especially financially. And I feel like you guys are feeling like it's working. Your hard work is working. And so I think that's going to make you feel a little bit more at ease. We do have some challenging aspects going on for everyone. So you have Venus in the 3rd making an opposition to Pluto in the 9th. So yeah. And it's making a trine to Neptune in the 11th. Ugh, you guys, Venus opposite Pluto, I'm just like dreading this. Like it kind of sucks. It's basically, I mean, I feel like in terms of shadow work, that can definitely bring up some shadow work for you guys. You might receive blessings for shadow work you've done, but you might also be getting more things coming to the surface now, regardless of how much progress you've made. Because Venus being in the 3rd house, like the 3rd house is our mindset and it's also our communication. So having the relationship planet moving through this house is focusing on your communication and relationships, and being opposing Pluto in the 9th. It's like, well, how are your beliefs, or how are this person's beliefs and ideals and values at odds with yours? And how is that affecting your communication? How is that affecting your thinking? Like maybe somebody has a specific religious belief. This comes up a lot with Pluto in the 9th. Like someone you know has a specific religious belief, but you have a totally different belief. And they're just like coming into your yard, as my therapist would say, and like shitting on it and being like, well, you shouldn't think that, or you shouldn't do that. And that can kind of be what this energy represents, of this is like frustration of someone else and that you're in a relationship with having different values and beliefs, and then not accepting yours and creating this tension, inner tension. It's possible that it's not a relationship. It could be internal, but it could be your friends. It's just very likely it's someone else, because Venus is a planet of relating with people, but it doesn't have to be that way, because it's also about ourself and our self-worth and our self-love. So this could be an inner dialogue that's occurring, like, well, challenging your current beliefs and really sitting down with your values and being like, well, does that still uphold, in my relationships, especially like your beliefs around relationships is especially going to be questioned. Because there's a trine to Neptune in the 11th, I think a really great way to work through this is to talk it out with people. Talk it out with your friends. Get an outside perspective. Or try to do something that kind of shakes things up. Like do something that's against what you normally would do, or against the grain. Because the 11th house has a lot to do with things that are quirky or unconventional. And maybe this opposition creates this inner strife that needs a creative solution that doesn't currently exists in your life. Like maybe you just need to do something again that you haven't done before, or in a way that you haven't done it before, or you need to like allow yourself to believe different things. So yeah, there's kind of a lot of ways that you can interpret this, but I'm just getting the sense that you might feel like your mindset is kind of going against someone else's mindset, or your beliefs against someone else's, or your values against someone else's, or the way that you communicate versus the way someone else wants you to communicate. And it's like not seeing eye to eye, or that could all be internal strife. Regardless, talking out is the best way to go here, especially with Venus being the third. It's like there has to be communication. You guys also have Mars in the 4th opposing Saturn in the 10th. So I do feel like you are feeling optimistic about some of the financial things that are coming through in terms of your career. But Saturn is still in the 10th house. So there are still delays. Like your career is still not where you want it to be. So even though you might start feeling like, okay, like, yeah, like I'm getting a little bit more money. I feel like I'm developing my skills more. I'm taking action. But Saturn is still here, so like the long-term vision, my bigger goal, where I want to be is still a little bit a ways away. I still have a few more lessons to learn. And with this opposition with Mars in the 4th, you might feel quite frustrated at some of these lessons. Because Mars just naturally kind of creates frustration. Because it wants action, but it's coming up against Saturn's roadblocks. So there might be elements or things that you want to do either in your home life or in your career life that you're kind of seeing some of these roadblocks and you feel really frustrated. So if you didn't watch the beginning, where I did an overview of this moon, which I always recommend watching, one of the things I mentioned was that someone had Mars opposing her natal Saturn, and she was doing, and her natal Saturn was in the 4th house of home. So she was doing home renovations, and there was stumbling blocks every step of the way. And so with this Mars being in the 4th house, you might feel like you want to move homes. You might feel like you want to address issues with your family or do something in the home. Or with Saturn, you might want to do something in your career, and like there's some kind of blockage there, some kind of delay or frustration. So just keep that in mind that is occurring now, but it's going to be alleviated the days following this. And then you also have Uranus in your 1st house making a square to Saturn. Again, this is an ongoing thing that is going to continue to happen this entire year. These planets are in and out of aspect with each other. And I want to include this because this opposition with Mars and Saturn, I feel like one of the ways that you can relieve some of this frustration between these things is by making adjustments to yourself. So it's either changing your perspective on things, or changing like what you want to do. There is some element of you that kind of has to adapt in this situation. It's almost like the other aspects of your career and your family, your home, your physical home, like those things aren't going to change. It's like you have to change to feel some sense of relief. So that's really what I'm seeing here. Let's talk a little bit more about these cards. I pulled the Aquamarine card for you, which says, it presents itself to you with a clear message that you can't ignore. You're a teacher. You are here upon this earth to share your unique knowledge and wisdom to improve the lives of many. Whoa, right? And if you don't believe that this is true, it is. So I love this because it's so funny that you got this full moon in your 9th house. The 9th house is the house of the teacher. So I feel like this is really coming home to tell a few of you, or all of you, that you guys are teachers in your lives. Even if this is not something that you actively see yourself as, you are changing the people and influencing the people around you, especially with Uranus in your 1st house. You are embodying the energy of Uranus, which is the energy of change and shock and awe in a way. So you have this capacity to harness the energy of Uranus and the intelligence of a full moon in the 9th house, making a sextile to Jupiter, which is also a teacher energy. Jupiter is the wise teacher of the zodiac. And so you guys have a lot here going on where you're meant to share your wisdom and knowledge with people, especially your friendships, because this moon is making a sextile to Jupiter in the 11th house of friends, either friends or groups of people. You guys are meant to be sharing some message. You're meant to be teaching people right now. And so this is basically saying, if you feel like you're doing that, good job, you're on the right track. And if you don't feel like you're doing that, you probably are without realizing it. So maybe it's time to give yourself like a little bit more credit for that. I did pull the Grand Cross Provoker card. I feel like I didn't really mean to pull this, so I don't know if I want to go super into this because I'm not feeling it. But this is basically indicating a need to change. I feel like this is kind of what I was saying about Uranus being in the first house. Like, you are this changing energy. You are changing a lot in your life, but you're also changing others because you're changing. I'm just going to say that like 7 more times. I feel like that's explaining itself. So it's interesting. I pulled the Justice card, which is Libra energy, which is ruled by Venus. So to me, this is really drawing my attention to the Venus opposition with Pluto here. And this is finding a balance here. So an opposition is challenging because you have to find a balance in the middle. It's two extremes pulling each other and you have to meet in the middle. So you really might find like there is either two sides of yourself or you against someone with different viewpoints, different ideas, different beliefs, and it's a need to find a balance and create an equilibrium between you or between yourself. And I think that moving through some of these shadows that come up is going to help you address any differences with other people in a way that diffuses the tension, diffuses any negativity in the situation, and just comes at it from a place of raw honesty rather than two shadows butting up against each other and not making progress forward. I also pulled the Knight of Pentacles, which says efficiency. To me, this is really describing the longer journey that you have with Saturn in the 10th house. The Knight does not have the full recognition, the full wealth that the King of Pentacles does, right? And so what I'm getting from this is that you right now are the Knight. So you're not the Page, which is the beginning of the Pentacles series. You're not just at the beginning of your career. You have Mercury in the 2nd making a trine to Saturn 10th. You're getting some recognition, or maybe not recognition, but you're getting some money. You're finally having things start to flow a little bit, but you're not quite there yet. And I feel like that's what this card is saying. Just keep going, one foot in front of the other, one step at a time. And I feel like the second message that's coming across with this balance and efficiency cards are really telling you to find a really good balance in your work and your personal life, to use your time in a very efficient way. So if you have a business, being very careful not to do tasks that overlap. And what I mean by that is, like, for example, I was doing a podcast where I was doing like a month ahead forecast. And then I was doing like all these moon videos. And a lot of what I was saying was overlapping. And really what I should have done was create one thing and then reuse it for multiple purposes. So try to find the areas in your life where you can be more efficient and use your time and resources wisely and to go a lot further. And as a Taurus rising, you guys naturally have this gift. So it's really about tuning into it so that you can really take care of yourself and find that balance. So that's what I'm saying for you guys. If you guys liked this, please like and comment down below. That means so much to me when you do. And if you're interested in learning about astrology, about your purpose, and deep diving into your own psyche, then I highly recommend joining the North Node Society, which is linked down below. Have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have Gemini Rising. So for you guys, this full moon in Capricorn is happening in your 8th house. And your 8th house, which is a lot around shadow work. It's also a lot around investments, vulnerability, finances, death. But it's making a sextile to Jupiter in the 10th house. So you guys, that's so weird. I just pulled that card. I'm definitely getting the sense that this could be around some abundance coming in for you in ways that you might not have expected. Yeah, Jupiter in the 10th is really awesome for your career. And obviously when things are going well in your career, money tends to go a little bit better. On top of that, you have Venus in your 2nd house of finances. So again, money tends to go better. And I'm pulling all these pentacle cards. So I'm definitely getting the feeling that like finances is a thing right now. And yeah, so I feel like it's a little bit challenging though, because you guys also have, even though you have Venus moving through your 2nd house, which is going to give you more finances, On top of that, you have Pluto in the 8th house. So it's almost like where this moon is taking place, this illumination happening in your 8th house of shadow work, of debt, of everything like that. It's almost like you have to really face some of those internal demons in order for you to actually, I was going to say in order for you to get this money. I don't think that's true. I'm disagreeing with myself right now. Because I think the money is going to come regardless. A sextile with Jupiter in the 10th, Venus moving through your 2nd, money and career are on point right now. But additionally, you also have this full moon happening in the 8th. You also have Venus opposing Pluto in the 8th. And the 8th is again about being really vulnerable, looking at your finances, looking at your debt, asking how you've been spending money, being super honest with yourself about things like that, as well as being open to receiving. There could be a lot that you need to work on in terms of self-worth and receiving at this time. You can really tell when things start to improve, when they go well in your career. It's like, okay, that's great. But then sometimes when that happens, your shadow self starts to come up and be like, well, I don't deserve this. Or maybe it's not even a conscious thought, but you kind of start limiting yourself in some way without even maybe realizing it. So I think that's going to be a big thing right now, is allowing yourself to receive and maybe working through some of the shadows around receiving and worthiness, and just really believing in your skills and abilities as well. I want to first, before I dive further into this, I really want to look up what this card meant, because I felt like this is important. Phenicite, I'm pretty sure that's how you say it. So phenicite is a precious and powerful messenger with a crucial reminder: talk to your guides in the angelic realm. You weren't sent on this earth to go it alone. You were bestowed with angels and guides, designed meticulously just for you, to direct you. Though they can hear the subconscious and secret ramblings of your heart, your spoken or written words aimed at them are much more powerful. So I feel like it's asking for you to pray, to communicate with the divine. That's interesting. Especially because the 8th house does have to do with death. And so I feel like if you do have a past lover family member, with this full moon happening there, this might be your opportunity to try to reach out to them, not expecting a response, but maybe to send your prayer to them. Ask for what you want out of life from them. And yeah, I think it's beneficial to open up that line of communication. Interesting. Okay, so that isn't really what I thought it would be. But I guess I don't really know what I thought it would be. So it's just not what I thought. Yeah, anyway. Okay, so you guys also have Mercury moving through your 1st house. And this is making a trine to Saturn in your 9th house. So I love this. Mercury is in its home sign. This is your chart ruler. At this time, I think Mercury is no longer retrograde. Thank God. You've probably been feeling slightly out of sorts. Possibly. Maybe a little bit confused because Mercury and Neptune have been chatting up, and that has been giving us a lack of clarity as Geminis in our life. So in some area of our life, things have been a little unclear. But now that it's moving direct and it's making a trine to Saturn in the 9th, I feel like that vision is getting a little bit clearer. And you're finally feeling like you can understand things and you're ready to move forward and make progress and keep growing and put hard work into that progress. Because Saturn in the 9th house is all about putting really hard work into the vision that you have for the future. And it's also about putting hard work into yourself as a person so that you can match the level of vibration or frequency needed to hold and maintain what you are envisioning for your life. So you really have to do both. And I feel like that's working well for you guys right now. With this Mercury making a trine to Saturn, it's like, okay, yeah, that's working. This is where things get a little bit challenging. Mars is also opposing Saturn in the 9th. So even though you have been putting in that hard work and your mindset is kind of starting to improve, you are likely getting clarity. The vision is coming into focus. On top of that, though, I feel like you guys probably have a lot going on. Mars moving through your 3rd house creates hyperactivity. So this can make you, like, in your mind kind of go wild. It can make you have a lot to do. It can mean that you have a lot to do in terms of movement, like maybe you're moving houses, or you're traveling, or you're connecting and reaching out with a lot of people in your area. But there's hyperactivity happening, and then there's that element of you like working hard towards your goals, towards this vision of your future that you're having, towards working on yourself, and they don't coincide. You can't really do both at the same time. It's like one is at the sacrifice of the other. It's about finding a nice balance between being active and having a lot going on. Literally pulled this card. That's the first card in there. I feel like that's what's going on. It's just pure action. 8 of Wands. It's forward movement. It's momentum. It's progress. Let's go. Let's go. And then Saturn is like, okay, but this is something that takes time. Like, we need to put one brick at a time, one step at a time. That's that hard work. 8 of Pentacles card. That's going to take years. This is not something we can rush. But then Mars like wants, that has a lot going on, wants to like move quickly. So you might feel like there is a clash here, and you might feel very frustrated that you maybe don't have the time to dedicate to your long-term visions, or don't have the time to dedicate to working on yourself, or you don't have the time to travel like you wanted to travel, or you don't have the time to teach or learn a new thing that you wanted to, because you're so occupied with all of this stuff going on that you probably created for yourself, to be honest. Like, let's take some responsibility. We create our lives to an extent. Mostly, we create our lives. Period. Okay. And then with Mars in the third, it's like you made your life busy. And there's kind of like the consequences of that with Saturn. It's like, oh, well, fuck, well, let me maybe re-examine like how I'm spending my time. And that's literally what I was saying with the last group with this card. Like, how am I spending my time? How am I spending my time? Let me make it the most efficient possible so that I can get all this stuff done and not sacrifice my personal development, my self-care. Yes, I feel like that's what's going on. And you guys also have Venus in the second, opposing Pluto in the eighth. Venus is also making a trine to Neptune in the 10th. So I feel like this is, again, you really having to come to terms with... Did I already talk about this? I feel like I did talk about this. Yeah. Okay. This is around the worthiness and receiving aspect. So there might be people that come up and are trying to give you something, and you might feel uncomfortable with it. Or you might feel like other people are judging you for receiving things. Or you might feel like there are a lot of like self-doubt and insecurities that are standing in your way from fully embracing what's trying to come into you monetarily. So I feel like the universe is trying to give you gifts in terms of resources, in terms of your career, especially with that trine to Neptune in the 10th. It's like you being in tune with your career, connected solely to your career, you know, feeling good in that area is giving you blessings in terms of developing your skills, developing your confidence, and financially. But there's also an equal shadow side that is conflicting that needs to have some light shed on it so that you can release any of those fears, insecurities, or anxiety around receiving or around being vulnerable and open, which is a lot around receiving. And so I feel like that's what this star card is about. The fact that you're having a full moon in the 8th house, like I feel like it's trying to lighten your load a little bit. The 8th house is a really heavy house, to be honest. And to have a full moon there brings a concentration onto heavy things. But the star card, it comes after the Tower. It's after the moment where you feel like you're knocked down, that you're revitalizing yourself. You're regrowing. It's a rebirth. And so I feel like, I don't think this is like a full Tower. This honestly doesn't seem that negative. But just in general, I feel like you're kind of, after having such heavy energy in this 8th house for all of 2020, the star card I feel like is coming in here to say you're finally like rejuvenating this ability to believe that you are worthy of receiving what you want and that you can have what you want. And the 8th house is just like anything that's any like the little last cobwebs that stand in the way that are kind of blocking your view of how much you are worthy and how much you do deserve. They're just like old things from the past that need to kind of be swept away. And I feel like you're going to be doing that at this moon. I also have the Saturn return age card, so I'm not sure if some of you are going through your Saturn return and it feels a little bit more challenging, especially with Mars in the mix. It might feel a little bit frustrating at this time. But I feel like Saturn is basically coming in here to say that this is not the time where you're going to receive like all of your abundance and blessings. You're starting to see them come in, but it's a time to be working towards them. And that's what this whole moon is about, is putting in the hard work. You got both of these cards. I'm just saying, like, this is about putting your nose to the grindstone. So, yeah, just do that. Easier said than done sometimes, but I feel like this is going to be positive for you guys. So if you enjoyed this, please like and comment down below. And if you're interested in learning anything at all about your chart, about astrology, and you want to deep dive into your purpose, your gifts, your psyche, then I highly recommend joining the North Node Society, which is a membership that I just started, and it's awesome. Let's just say it's awesome. There's a whole astrology course in there. Super worth it. Only $20 a month. If you're interested in joining, you can check it out in the link below. I hope you have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have Cancer Rising. So for you guys, this Capricorn full moon is happening in your 7th house of relationships. Wow, a lot is coming out for you guys. So whenever a full moon happens in the 7th house, it's pretty big in our lives. And I definitely feel like a lot is coming up for you mentally and emotionally. Wow, wow, wow. Especially because you guys have Venus in this first house, in your house. Great, by the way. Venus in your first house is so beautiful for attracting resources, abundance, people, relationships, opportunities, as well as just you being more attractive. So you just having kind of those blessings coming your way. However, Venus at this time is also opposing Pluto in the 7th. So where this moon is happening is relationships. It's about other people. And then on top of that, we have the layer of Venus opposing Pluto, triggering, again, this same area. And so I really feel like relationships are going to be under hyper focus right now. And I think that this is going to be a time where, honestly, it might be a little bit challenging. You might encounter people in your life right now that are a little bit more controlling, or you feel more controlling. You might encounter people that are more obsessive, or you might be that way, manipulative, or you might be that way. What else? Let's just stick with these cards for now. Yeah, I feel like it's gonna bring up like some wounding that you need to work through, that you need to communicate through. There's gonna be some kind of like issue in your relationship sector, essentially is what I'm trying to say. And it's all coming to head right now for you to fully deal with. Especially if this hits a personal planet, like you guys might not feel this as much. It could have just be like an internal thing that you're like, okay, I have this relationship pattern, I need to stop this, I'm gonna do this instead. But honestly, like I feel like a lot of you're going to see outward manifestations of this occurring in your relationships with people and have to fully address them. Oh, that's so weird. I just pulled this card. Okay. I just pulled the Phenacite, and I'm pretty certain that this card was just talking about how what you want to do right now is communicate more with your guides instead of just like thinking things, but to actually write them out or say it out loud and try to ask your guys for help during this time. And that actually makes a lot of sense because you have Mercury moving through your 12th house. The 12th house is like where our guides are. That's our higher self. That's our spiritual self. And Mercury is our planet of communication, of thinking. So to have this moving through there is saying to give your analytical mind a rest and connect more with your soul mind, connect with your higher self, speak to your guides, and have them help you through this. I really think they're going to help you through your shadow work because this Mercury is making a trine to Saturn in the 8th. The 8th is where we have a lot of accumulated patterns from our childhood or from past lives where we have our trauma and our wounding and our struggle. And so I feel like this trine happening between Mercury and Saturn is saying that it's time to call on your guides to help you move through that trauma, because that is the thing that I think is going to come up and rear its ugly head in this Venus opposing Pluto in your relationships. So there's some kind of trauma here where you guys might feel like you want to close off, where you might feel like you want to be guarded. And instead, you're supposed to open that up, explore it with your partner, be vulnerable. I mean, obviously, if they're a safe person to do it with. If they're not, then maybe a different partner. But, you know, generally, this is a time to do a lot of that deep exploration in terms of our patterns around relationships. And I think that specifically writing to your guides, asking for help is going to actually make a big difference with this. I pulled a Neptune card, sacrifice. Interesting. I like this because Venus is making a trine to Neptune in the 9th. So even though it's opposing Pluto and you're going through this stuff in your relationships, the trine to Neptune is so uplifting. And I feel like this is drawing my attention to it. And I don't really think it's about the word sacrifice. What I feel like it is it's about, I feel like it's, because Neptune is in the 9th, I feel like it's about, honestly, partially I think it's about believing that your relationships can be totally different than what they've been in the past, can be totally different than your parents. I also feel like it's just generally coming in to say that you are being so spiritually supported right now, and it's very important to have compassion with yourself. I feel like you're going to have compassion for your partner. As a Cancer rising, you're ruled by the moon. You understand people's emotions. You're there for them. But I don't know that you're doing that for yourself right now. So I think that Neptune card is saying that you're going to give yourself that compassion, and that you should, and don't push it away, because a lot of what this is really challenging stuff. It's coming from shadow, from darkness, from challenge and trauma, like I was saying, and you can't work through that stuff in relationships with people if you're not kind to yourself first, you know? So just be really careful at the time to do that. Especially this moon is also making, the moon that's happening in your 7th house is making a sextile to Jupiter in your 9th house. So I feel like, again, this is creating more optimism in your relationships. Like, it can be different. I can receive blessings. Like, and also like a really great time to, like, the 9th house is about personal development, and like Jupiter brings a lot of wisdom. So I feel like it's bringing wisdom that will help you develop in your relationships and also your partner. And one way that you can develop is by traveling together, because Jupiter the 9th loves traveling, loves to see new things, experience new things, learn new things. So one way that your relationship can grow is through those avenues, like taking a course together, or moving abroad together, or traveling together, having something like that kind of work out. But yeah, I feel like the most important thing right now is to ask your guides for help and show yourself a lot of love and compassion. I think that's going to be the most important. You guys also have Mars in your 2nd house opposing Saturn in the 8th house. So it's interesting because having Saturn in the 8th house is challenging. And I did pull the 3 of Swords cards, which says anxiety. I feel like this is what Saturn in the 8th house is. It's fucking anxiety or depression. Like, you really have 2 modes. Saturn in the 8th is not the best to have natally or even transit. So, because the 8th house is all of our trauma, and Saturn brings like hardship or hard work, effort, blah, blah, blah. Like, that mixed with our trauma, like, that just blows. Like, those are not the things you want paired together. So I definitely feel like you guys, with this opposition with Mars in the 2nd and Saturn in the 8th, I feel like you guys could feel a little bit more anxious. And it's interesting, Mars in the 2nd, I feel like this is you wanting to have a really stable foundation. Like, your drive right now, Mars is our drive. And your drive is focused on 2nd house matters, which is stability, finances, resources, being independent. And it's opposing Saturn in the 8th, which is telling you to be vulnerable, to receive, to open up, to trust, to rely on others. So they're like really different things. And this could be giving you anxiety, this kind of push and pull between like, how much do I open up? How much do I keep for myself? How much do I focus on stability versus vulnerability? How much do I open, like how much am I focusing on receiving versus creating for myself and independence? And you might feel like anxiety over these things. Maybe you're falling on one end of the spectrum or another, but it's not a comfortable feeling. But Uranus is making a square to Saturn. This is happening all year long. It's exact 3 different dates. I already talked about this in the beginning, so I'm not going to go over it. But what I'm seeing Uranus as is kind of like the solution in this scenario. And for you guys, Uranus is in your 11th house of friendships. So all this internal dialogue, all this anxiety around independence, money, self-worth, receiving, connection, vulnerability, insecurity, did I say insecurity? All those things that are swirling around your head, causing you anxiety, those need to be shared with others. Those burdens need to be shared with other people. The change that needs to happen is with your connections, is the amount that you're trying to open up and share and talk about with people. And I feel like Venus opposing Pluto is trying to tell you that. It's trying to say, it's not time to close off. It's time to get raw. It's time to get real. And it's time to show everyone what you're moving through. And the Uranus in the 11th house is saying that your friends are going to help you make those changes within you. It's going to help alleviate all that anxiety and that stress, to rely and lean on those connections with others, specifically friends or groups of people with similar mindsets. And I feel like born out of that is going to be brand new ideas, because you got this card. And also Jupiter in the 9th house can give you totally new ideas. And that's what this sextile is happening with the moon and Jupiter in the 9th. It's like, not only do I see you being more optimistic and growing in your relationship, but new things are going to start to sprout from this. Your relationship is growing and your relationship with yourself is growing. And from that, you're going to have new opportunities start to come in, like, oh, I could do that. Or we could do that. And I feel like it's going to feel so positive. Like you're going to have quite a bit to work through, but then once you do that, you're going to feel like you have all these new beginnings and new opportunities and new ideas, and it's going to feel really invigorating. So I think this is going to be a really big moon for you guys. I think it's going to impact you on a deep personal level and on your partner as well. This honestly might be talking specifically about your partner. Like maybe these changes and these things happening are happening to your partner, because having a moon in the 7th and full moon in the 7th of house of others, it can literally be things that are happening to others and not to you. So that's just something to keep in mind that is a possibility. So if you guys like this, please like it and comment down below if it resonates. That means so much to me when you guys do that. I cannot explain. And if you're interested in learning about astrology, your gifts, your purpose, your shadows, and all of your psyche, then I highly recommend checking out my North Node Society membership, which I will link down below. I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, up next we have Leo Rising. So for you guys, Leo Risings, this full moon in Capricorn is happening in your 6th house of work, health, daily routines, subordinates, small pets. And I just generally like to think of it as responsibilities, things that we owe to others typically. And this moon, this full moon, is making a sextile to Jupiter in your 8th house. This is interesting. I feel like some of the gifts that you are receiving are a deeper understanding of where you might be holding yourself back. Because the 8th house for me is somewhere where we have a lot of our stored insecurities and shadows, and yeah, interesting. You got some intense cards already coming through. But yeah, the 8th house is generally where we store a lot of negativity from the past, from our traumas. And yeah, okay, wow, you guys. And it's also the house of death. So it's almost like they say death and rebirth, because once you let things go, you are able to finally start experiencing new energies into your life. And so that's kind of what I'm seeing here is like a lot of the blessings coming from Jupiter moving through your 8th house are blessings on the back of hardship, deeper understanding of yourself because of challenging things that you're going through, because of loss that you've experienced. I literally pulled some of the 3 most challenging cards, and I feel like that's immediately what I was drawn to, was Jupiter in the 8th for you. Here we go. So we got the five of Cups, which is about being like left out, but this one says loss specifically. That's what I'm feeling with it. There's some kind of loss that you guys went through. 10 of Wands, which is about the ending of a difficult, really heavy cycle. And then literally the Death card, which says to let go. So I feel like you guys experienced some hardship recently that is honestly like throwing you for a loop a little bit, in the sense that any kind of really challenging situation like this is going to knock you down and kind of rebuild you. It feels like a tower moment in our life. If you know anything about the Tower tarot card, it's like everything starts to kind of fall down at once. It's not that I'm seeing everything in your life fall down, but I'm getting this image here with this moon, that the blessings coming through for you are because of these really hard experiences, because you've had a lot of burden recently, likely over the past month or couple months. You've probably had some kind of loss of a friendship, loss of a relationship, loss of a loved one, loss of a job, some kind of loss where you feel like you are letting go of an old identity and birthing into a new way of being. And this full moon being in your 6th house is helping you re-establish who you want to be on a daily level. So what do you want your daily routine to look like? What do you want to wake up and do? How do you want to spend your time? Where do you want to work? Who do you want to surround yourself with? What thoughts do you want to have? What habits do you want to create? It's like that is the new that is coming to birth through the loss that you have experienced recently. And Jupiter is coming in and saying, you know, we're going to teach you so much about yourself through this loss, and you're going to learn so much inner wisdom from this moment in your life. And I feel like that's the true gift of Jupiter in the 8th house. It's a gift that doesn't feel like a gift at the time. I pulled the fluorite. Fluorite is very interesting. I actually have some right here. A friend of mine gave this to me, and it's so cool because it's like half purplish, half green. And the green really represents the heart chakra, and then purple, I believe, is our crown or third eye chakra. So it's kind of like we're connecting. We're like really feeling things through our heart. Whenever we're going through a really challenging time like this, your heart is just split wide open. Like that sense of vulnerability, that sense of raw hurt, honestly, can make you so much more open to receiving like psychic gifts or downloads or guidance, or honestly just love and support from the more spiritual aspect of life. So I actually feel like this is a really great time to open your heart and be very willing to receive help, and not try to do all this on your own, whether that's receiving help from family and friends, or whether that's receiving help from like the more spiritual plane, or both. I feel like you guys are being called to open up those 2 areas of your life so that you can lean on others. Okay, Neptune's sacrifice. Interesting. Very interesting. I kind of want to pull one more of these cards. You guys also have Mercury in the 11th house making a trine to Saturn in the 7th house. North Node, life's purpose. That's positive. Awesome. So, Mercury being in the 11th making a trine to Saturn in the 7th is another way that you're receiving support from friends and from relationships, from the people that are closest to you. I feel like that level of commitment, like the relationships with Saturn in the 7th, it's kind of trying your really close relationships. It's solidifying them and trying the ones that are weak and kind of making them fall away. So the relationships that are true, the relationships that are pure, and based off of a strong foundation will remain as Saturn moves and leaves your 7th house. But because it's making a trine to Mercury in the 11th, I feel like your community is being like that support system for you right now. Like Saturn has a very reliable and stable energy, and it helps us feel supported and grounded. And I think with Mercury in the 11th, like you're able to finally communicate and talk to people who understand what you're going through, who've been through something similar, or who are friends that just will have your back. And so I'm really getting the sense that the community aspect right now is so key and is one of the ways that you're receiving divine support. You guys also have Venus transiting your 12th house. So sometimes with Venus in the 12th, because the 8th and the 12th have a lot to do with loss. The 8th is like literally physical death, while the 12th house is can be linked to physical death, but it can also be linked to like loss of just something in your life. So I think it's interesting that Venus is moving through the 12th right now for you guys. It's almost like this aspect of your relationships. You're losing things in relationships. Like you're losing patterns in relationships, or you're losing connection with certain people. And it's very likely that at this time when your life is challenging, that there are certain people that aren't there for you, and that you start to realize, okay, that person's not a genuine friend. They don't have that Saturnian commitment and support to me that I need. And so you can be losing people along the way before before Venus is reborn in the 1st house. And so while it's moving through the 12th, you again are going to be kind of like disidentifying or loosening your grip or attachment to certain people, to certain ways of being in relationships, to certain patterns, to how you think and move through relationships. And I think that because Venus is trining Neptune in the 8th, I really feel like a lot of this is because of what you're going through. Like you're kind of having like a mini spiritual awakening on the back of this loss or this hardship. And you're realizing who your friends are, how you want to show up, and how you want to be received by others. And I feel like as long as you trust your intuition, you will make the right decision in regards to your friendships and your relationship patterns. And I think it's going to be really important that you make those decisions and that you actually decide to leave certain people behind. Maybe you already have. I mean, this is just kind of confirmation, or maybe you plan on it. And this is really to tell you that whatever is coming through in terms of like leaving relationships or leaving patterns, or even it could be around money. If it's something around your relationship with money, this is confirmation that you are supposed to leave those things in the past. And it's time to be reborn in those areas of your life. You also have Venus in the 12th opposing Pluto in the 6th. This is a pretty intense energy for all of us. The 12th and the 6th houses in astrology, especially in traditional astrology, are known to be very challenging houses. The 6th house is where we typically have like ill health or things kind of going wrong in a certain area of our life in terms of like having to work really hard and not get results. So there's kind of a lot that can happen with that. So what I feel like is happening here is I feel like there needs to be kind of like a restructuring of the way that you go about your day, and where you dedicate your energy and things like that. And I think that is ultimately going to impact your relationships. So I feel like this is kind of like an experimental time where you might feel like you don't have maybe like full control over your schedule and things that you want to do, but you want to start like doing things differently. Or maybe you have a relationship that needs to change, but it's almost like the way that you are in your daily schedule is kind of going against that. Or maybe you have like some karma that you have to pay off, and it's like affecting these relationships. So there's kind of a lot that can come through with this. I feel like it's too general, so I'm going to pull some cards that are giving me a greater idea of what that might be for you guys. Oh, wow. Okay. Normally I don't like to pull cards to clarify because it's just so much. The Lovers, Six of Pentacles, and Page of Cups. Okay, this is definitely a lot about like love and feeling. Um, okay, this makes so much sense now. Okay, what I'm seeing with this, with Venus in the 12th and Pluto in the 6th, I think what this is doing is breaking the pattern of there not being equality of give and take within your relationships. Like that's what the Six of Pentacles and the Lovers are. It's like this is duality. These are two people who are showing up equally to the relationship and giving everything that they have and also being open to receive everything that the other person has. And then the Page of Cups is like a new love, a new beginning, a new cycle coming in for you, a new offer of romance. And so this might literally be happening, or could just be something that happens later down the line. But I feel like you guys are making room for new love that is actually equal and balanced. Because what's interesting about Pluto in the 6th, Pluto is already about imbalances. And when it's interacting with Venus, it's showing imbalances specifically in our partnerships and really close relationships with people. Pluto being in the 6th house, the 6th house is a house of subordinates where there's inequality. So it's really, again, driving home and highlighting there's imbalance, inequality in this relationship or in some relationship that you've been experiencing. And with Venus moving through the 12th, you're shedding that. It's coming to light so that you can shed it and try to live or try to cultivate or attract partners like this who are meeting you exactly where you're at and offering you love that feels equal, balanced, and mature and healthy. So I feel like that's going to be extremely transformative for you guys at this time. And I think also just the way that you value yourself and like the daily decisions that you make in terms of how to lead your life is going to pull in those people or push them away. So if you are making daily decisions, the little decisions each and every second of our life that really inform yourself, how you feel about yourself, how you take care of yourself, how you treat yourself, how you talk to yourself, those are the energies that you're sending out. And if they don't match this Page of Cups, then you're not going to attract it. You could keep attracting the people who will take from you because you don't give to yourself. And so you're going to attract more energy of people and things that take. So just be really careful of that this full moon is coming in to highlight the daily little things because that's where you're going to help create the true ending of this cycle in order to cultivate a truly equal partnership and healthy partnership with someone. You guys also have Mars moving through your first house and it's opposing Saturn in the second. Okay, yeah, exactly. So this is again highlighting this struggle in relationships. Mars and Saturn have a very different type of energy. Mars wants to take action. It wants to see things through. It feels really ambitious and driven. And while Saturn is ambitious and driven in and of itself, it is also full of obstacles, full of delays and hardships in that ambition. So they both want to make forward progress, but Saturn in its inherent nature likes to put up a lot of stumbling blocks to teach us a lot of lessons along the way. And so Mars just kind of wants to be at the finish line and it feels blocked and frustrated and angry that things aren't panning out as easily as they could and as they should in Mars's eyes. So it's interesting to have Mars in your first house. So there's part of you that wants to be in a different place in your life than you are. You want to kind of skip ahead. Maybe you want to skip past all this pain that's coming in through these cards. Maybe you want to skip past all this work and daily decisions that you have to make in order to create an equal and balanced relationship. But Saturn in the 7th is saying, you can't just get to where you want to be in your relationships. We're going to put up all these little roadblocks along the way and make you feel frustrated that things aren't moving as smoothly as you would like, but that's a part of your progress that you're meant to make. And it's just part of the path. So if you do feel frustrated about this time because of relationships, because things aren't as easy and simple as you would like them to be, know that that is just kind of part of what this story is in your life right now, and it's really beneficial for you for the long run because it's really going to teach you some of these more difficult lessons that honestly probably need some time to integrate and to learn. And so those blocks will help you take that time and slow down. What's also positive about this is that you guys will have Uranus making a square to Saturn. So Uranus is in your 10th house of career, and again, Saturn is in the 7th house of relationships. So I feel like as you guys are starting to make changes to your relationships, your life purpose, your career is going to start coming into more focus. You're going to start to see different things kind of align for you, and you're going to be able to start attracting different people and experiences that are going to make you feel like you're living in alignment with your goals, with your career, your ambitions. But you really do have to do that work in your relationships in order to make these strides and these steps in your career. These are linked for you guys throughout this entire year. Uranus and Saturn are making squares. They're making squares 3 exact times, but really they're interacting this entire year. So the biggest transformation for you guys is actually your relationships. Like, you're meant to be creating equality and choosing healthy partners and making different decisions for yourself to attract those people. And even though that's where your biggest change, active work is, the biggest change that's really going to come as a result of that is actually your career. So somehow you putting that effort into your relationships is ultimately going to lead you to these radical, massive shifts in your career area, and you're going to start to see things in a different light. You're going to start to attract different things, and you're going to have much more clarity and understanding and purpose. The North Node is about us living out our destiny. And this is not just in terms of career, this is also in terms of your relationships. So you're basically evolving as a soul in these core areas, and the relationships is really where the biggest amount of effort is needing to be placed. So yeah, that's what I see for you guys. I hope that this resonates. If so, please like and comment down below. And if you're interested in learning about your own birth chart and about your own North Node and your purpose, and just kind of cultivating a deeper understanding of your psyche and working through your shadows, then I highly recommend checking out the North Node Society. It's a membership that I started recently, and it's such a wonderful place to be. And we're having monthly astrology talks, and we're meeting all as a group to discuss so many different things. So I hope that I will see you guys there. If you want to check out what it's about, the link is down below in the description, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, up next you have Virgo Rising. So for you guys, Virgos, you're going to have the Capricorn Full Moon happen in your 5th house, and it's making a sextile to Jupiter in your 7th. Oh yeah, that's the first thing I thought. I was like, you guys are going to be feeling good in relationships. Like, this is going to be I feel like a culmination period for your emotional connection with really close people in your life. I feel like you're going to be feeling like your partners are in alignment with you, or your friends are just kind of seeing eye to eye with you. And I think it's just going to feel very optimistic at this time. Jupiter being in exaltation in Pisces in your 7th house is such a blessing in terms of your intimate partnerships or just any close relationships. And I feel like you're just going to be feeling luxurious and loved. And it's funny because I pulled the King of Cups, which is it's this emotional maturity. But I feel like what it is, it's not just emotional maturity. It's you really thriving in a relationship, which obviously takes emotional maturity. But I'm getting the feeling that it's more like emotional stability and just feeling like you can navigate your relationships with ease at this time because the planets are helping you do so. I also pulled the Page of Swords, which says curiosity. So this represents oftentimes exploring new ideas, having new insights come to mind, or new news, like literally people telling you something. So that's interesting. I wonder what that's coming through as. 8 of Wands, action. So typically having a full moon in the 5th house is generally positive, but there is some intense alignments going on in the sky right now anyway. So it might not feel like, it's going to feel like a mixed bag for most people, especially given the fact that Venus is opposing Pluto. That's always a little bit challenging. The Magician card. This is all about being a master manifester. This is my favorite card in the deck, honestly. So, okay, so you guys are going to have Mercury right now transiting your 10th house. Mercury is your chart ruler if you are a Virgo rising, which means it has a lot to do with your career and your energy levels and just who you are as a person. So the condition of Mercury, the placement of Mercury will say a lot about your experience in life at the moment. So moving through your 10th house, I can see you being very career focused, and I feel like you are taking action and manifesting things that you are starting to explore and be curious about. I feel like this is you working on something, but not having all the pieces together necessarily. I feel like you guys are starting to get the pieces, and that's what this card really signifies to me is a beginning or a culminating of information, but not having all of it laid out. And then as you start to get more and more ideas and information and insights about what excites you, what makes you curious as a Virgo and ruled by Mercury, you are naturally a very inquisitive person and somebody who has a lot of intellect and asks questions, kind of like the Gemini energy. And so once you start getting more ideas, you're going to start taking action on whatever those things are. And you're going to step more into a powerful manifestation energy where you realize that your effort is paying off. Especially, I think that this is your efforts paying off in terms of your career. I feel like with Saturn in the 6th house, you guys could either be really working on your like daily routines and your health and stuff, or you could be working hard for another company and kind of building some kind of relationship or position there for yourself. So you're like building things for that company, but your efforts there, so either your efforts working for that company or your efforts on your working on your health and your daily routines, either one of those things, or even just kind of like if you have a business, like kind of like the bitch work of your business, or like cultivating like kind of like a culture in your business and hiring employees and things like that. It could be either of those things. One of those things is really going to ultimately support your career, and I feel like it's going to give you more ideas. So if you're working for somebody right now, I feel like what you're learning in that company is going to inform your larger career purpose, whether that's you starting a business, doing something on your own, or still working for somebody else, but having a different vision or a different long-term goal. Like the things that you're working on now in the day-to-day are supporting that long-term goal. And so that feels like it's going to help you manifest a lot. So this sense of curiosity in your career is going to be, or your current job or whatever you're doing day to day, that curiosity is going to lead you really far when you take action on it, and you'll start to see that you're manifesting actual things in your life that you've been dreaming of for a long time. That might be a longer cycle, not just at this moon, but I feel like it begins with the curiosity and the action around this moon. You guys also have Venus moving through your 11th house, making a trine to Neptune in the 7th. So this is very positive in terms of creating relationships with people where you feel like you're connected and you're very compassionate, and maybe you can encounter more spiritual groups if that's something that you're interested in, or more people who are just gentler or more intuitive by nature, and seem to kind of be on your same wavelength is like the vibe that I'm getting. They're really like, they seem like they're nice people that are on your same wavelength. But what's interesting though is that Venus in the 11th is also opposing Pluto in the 5th. So even though you have those positive relationships coming in, I feel like Pluto in the 5th is kind of saying that you might not have like the ability to just do the things that you want to do right now to the fullest extent. Let me pull some cards on that to get some further clarification. Okay, so I just pulled some cards, and I feel like I kind of want to address some of the cards I pulled as a general message, and then maybe get into the relationship stuff with Venus and Pluto. So first of all, I pulled the Celestite Crystal card, which is all about speaking your truth and teaching kind of spiritual messages with other people. So this is all about opening up your throat chakra and being extremely honest and vulnerable in relationships, but also in your career. I'm getting this sense that as you guys have Mercury moving through your 10th, you're kind of stepping up and owning your voice in a way, and in a way that you've never done it before. And so I feel like this is highly encouraging you guys to speak your mind and open up and share your ideas, because that's going to help attract other people to you. That is going to bring more of your ideas and dreams to life. So the more that you speak about it, just like this Magician card, the more that you speak about it, the more that you're like casting spells with your words to help manifest the things, the situations, the people that you want. So I feel like this is a universe really pushing and encouraging you guys to be open with people that you meet, or anyone that you just kind of want to share your ideas with, because I think it's going to be very transformative for you. I pulled the Scorpio card. I kind of feel like this is you guys stepping up in a way of vulnerability. So if you're not already practicing this, or even if you are, there might be this need to become more vulnerable with people and share more of your intimate story, whether that is through work or your relationships. I feel like that's going to help you receive. That's what I'm getting. Like, the more that you open up, the more that you receive. And that's also what Scorpio is. It's about vulnerability, and vulnerability is also receiving. Like, that's hard, not to try to do everything on your own, but to be kind of not like weak, but it might feel weak when you have to get support to get something in your life created or done. And that's what I'm seeing for you guys, that you're meant to receive a lot of support, but you have to be vulnerable in order to do that. Okay, Venus opposite Pluto in the 5th. This is so interesting because I pulled some kind of intense cards for this around you guys. I pulled the Death card, which is about an ending of something. I pulled the Lost card, the 5 of Cups, and the 7 of Cups Choices card. So you guys might be experiencing some transformation in terms of your relationships, especially because I pulled the Eclipse card, which says lunar eclipse, says change. So the feeling that I'm getting here is that you guys are changing on an internal level with your relationships. So it's funny because Pluto, like the 5th house, is a lot about having fun and playing and things being really lighthearted. But Pluto is like a really deep, intense energy, and it doesn't, it's not on the surface. It doesn't just like to play and have fun. And if it is, it's like you're bearing a lot of things and not fully addressing them. So I kind of feel like with Venus in the 11th house, you might be faced with different types of people and situations where there might be like things coming up where it does seem like it's just playful and on the surface, but underneath it, there's actually like underlying issues in that relationship or patterns that you need to break. And so it's almost like there needs to be, it's like I feel like there needs to be a loss. There needs to be a letting go. And maybe that's just of some of the people that aren't supportive, or maybe it's just like the type of person that you typically attract, or maybe it's letting go of certain walls or relationship patterns that you have. Because I feel like a lot of this is internal change, because I pulled the lunar eclipse card, which is about emotional change. So I almost feel like this is maybe not as much about like losing relationships as it is about, I mean, it could be, but I feel like it could be, I just feel like it's like this internal restructuring in terms of like the depth of your relationships. Like you're being asked to go really deep and be vulnerable with people with this Scorpio card. And having Pluto move to the 5th is saying like, okay, enough of this like surface level stuff. I want to have fun, but I want to connect really deeply as well. And so there is something here with that. I feel like I'm just not fully clear on what that is still, but let me kind of move on and see if I come back to it or not. Okay, you guys also have Mars moving through your 12th house, opposing Saturn in your 6th house. So this is interesting because Mars moving through your 12th house is honestly a little bit challenging in terms of like physical activity, ambition, all of that, because Mars is the planet of energy and of drive, and the 12th house is rest. So it's going to re-emerge in your 1st house soon. And at that point, it's going to be moving into Virgo. I mean, it just kind of moved into, it moved into Leo on like, what date was it? The June 11th. So it'll be there for like, I don't know, like a month. I need to look. But yeah, so it being in your 12th house, it's almost like your battery goes low or like your lights dim and you're just like, I don't really have like all of the energy that I had before. But I still like really want to get stuff done because I have Saturn in the 6th house. So I'm still feeling like I want to make progress in my career. Like I have this I pulled the Queen of Pentacles. Like, this is you being independent and working on your stuff on your own, and yeah, like being able to start creating finances for yourself that you feel really confident about. So I feel like you guys are wanting to step into that energy of being really financially independent and working hard and everything. But with Mars opposing Saturn, you might feel like there's like not as much time as you need, or not as much energy as you need, or like you have maybe you just have like a lot on your mind, like mentally or emotionally at times. Like there's just like some kind of like blockage to your ability to really put in the effort and the work that you want to do right now. Not that you can't, but it's just not at the capacity that you want to be doing it. And so I feel like you guys might be a little bit frustrated maybe with yourself at that time, and be like, oh, well, I want to put in the time and the effort, but I'm just like, oh, I have so much to do. I'm so tired. Like, it's not like, or I'm just like not motivated, but like I really want the results. I want the end outcome. And that could also be something with Pluto in the fifth too, is like, where are you spending your time in terms of like fun and relaxation? Because that could have an impact on this overall as well. And that could also be part of it, like letting go of some old like party habits in order to build something really substantial for yourself. Like, okay, that could be what this choice is, lost and let go is. Maybe it's nothing about relationships at all. Maybe it's about you guys being really practical with your time. You're like, okay, well, I want to have this up leveling happen in my life, so let's be real about it for a second. What do I need to change in my habits? Like, what do I need to change? And it's not even like habits particularly, because Pluto's in the fifth house. I feel like it's more of like the way that you try to enjoy your life. So like if you're partying on the weekends and you're spending a lot of money, like going to bars or doing drugs, or like not being responsible in some ways, just like enjoying life and having fun. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but like there comes a time where you're ready to up level and you're ready to let those things go. And you have that choice. Like, okay, do I want to prioritize my work and maybe do some extra work on the weekends because I'm trying to build something for myself to be independent? Or do I want to put that energy to keep hanging out with friends? And you might kind of feel like this push and pull. Like, do I want to create something for myself, or do I want to be social? And that kind of might be where you feel like you're at odds with yourself, or like you're not encountering the best circumstances because you want both. But the lunar eclipse change card is saying that you have to decide for yourself inside, like, who am I? What do I want to feel every day? What do I want to wake up to every day? And make your decisions from that place. Because if you're just kind of following like your urges in the moment, that's not really being in tune with like who you truly are and what you truly want. So I think thinking long term and connecting the emotions that you're experiencing now with that long-term goal to make decisions based off of that will be key for you here. So that might be the better interpretation of Venus opposing Pluto, but you guys could of course experience it differently. I mean, this is just a general reading. So I mentioned Mars opposing Saturn already, but I didn't mention the fact that Uranus is squaring Saturn. So this is an ongoing square. It's happening all year long, but it's becoming exact 3 times. So your Uranus is in the 9th house and it's squaring Saturn in the 6th house. So I feel like as you start to like put in that daily grind work and kind of do like the bitch stuff that you maybe don't want to do and stop having as much fun, which kind of sucks, but like Saturn in the 6th house is just that. It's like putting in this sweat equity to get what you want in the long term. So if you're willing to kind of drop some of these things that you enjoy, even though it feels like a loss and it feels like you're making kind of a sacrifice, you are making a sacrifice, you're building something bigger than yourself. You're building something that you can ride out later on. So it's like the sweat equity is important. It's key. It's essential to making this long-term shift in your life. And so as you're working on that, you're going to notice that like your vision of life and your beliefs about life are going to start to change. So you might start seeing yourself differently. You might start prioritizing things differently. You might start to attract those situations that I was talking about that feel really exciting. And then all these new opportunities start to come in and broaden your horizons. And you're like, I never would have thought about that. I never would have done that. I never would have met this person if I didn't put in this sweat equity, if I didn't do all this bitch work up front. So that's really what I'm seeing for you guys. I feel like it's going to create some really massive internal shifts that are going to help you grow beyond what you realize you're capable of right now. Like, I don't think you even have the full vision in your mind yet. I think it's just this page of swords. It's just the beginning right now. And you're being asked to prioritize the things that really matter for you long term and experience a little bit of loss. But ultimately, this is your choice. You know, you're letting this go on purpose. You're sacrificing this on purpose so you can have what will make you fulfilled long term. So I hope that that resonates with you guys. If so, please like and comment down below. And if you are interested in learning about astrology, diving into your psyche, understanding your transits, learning how to do all this for yourself, then I highly recommend checking out the North Node Society. It's my new membership where I help you find and live out your purpose using astrology and really honing in on your gifts. So if you're interested, check it out using the link below, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, up next we have Libra Rising. So for you guys, this full moon in Capricorn is going to be lighting up your 4th house of home and family at this time. And the 4th house also has so much to do with our emotions and our inner stability. And so that's actually, for my transits, I'm a Libra rising, and man, like the emotional stability, or not even emotional stability, just stability has been my key word for the last month. I didn't make an annual word like a lot of people do, but I kind of just stumbled upon it or decided it like a few months in. And yeah, I'm just trying to create more stability in my life, and I feel like this could be part of that, especially because I just pulled the 10 of Pentacles, you guys. I almost never pull this card. It says legacy. And the 10 of Pentacles is not only about having financial abundance, but having a really strong sense of stability within yourself, within your family, within your community. It's like the most stable card that I could pull. And so that's feeling really exciting. I feel like whatever foundations you've been wanting to stabilize or to work on, I feel like those are finally having some results come from it, because a full moon are about culmination and results. And so that feels really exciting for you guys. This full moon is also making a sextile to Jupiter in the 6th house of work, health, daily routines. I just pulled this card. How weird. Celestite. So I literally just pulled this for Virgo, but I think this also makes sense for you guys. Celestite is basically coming in here to say that we are meant to be sharing our ideas and communicating certain things, especially spiritual things. If you're a spiritual teacher, this is a confirmation saying that you're on the right path and that you're meant to be sharing your voice more at this time than ever before. I'm going to talk more about that in a second, but I think that's really exciting. Just the idea that the universe is kind of giving you a megaphone, and it's asking you to speak your message now. Like, now is the time when the fruit is ripe, when people's ears are ready to listen, when society and the stars have aligned in a way that your message is primed to be received by the people around you. I also pulled the Saturn return age. You guys, this is exactly what I'm talking about with stability. What does Saturn return do? It can beat the shit out of us a little bit, but just because it wants us to get on track and create a strong legacy for our life, pursue our purpose in a very serious way so that we can have that foundation for others to follow in our footsteps. It's like that wise teacher energy. It's like we're stepping up in that way, you guys. Okay. It's so weird. I'm getting so much overlap between Virgo and Libra. So yeah, I pulled these 2 cards for Virgo as well, which is lunar eclipse and Scorpio. So these are both about big shifts and changes, often internal changes. So I'm really curious kind of what that means, especially because I pulled these 2 cups cards, which is the Knight of Cups, which says charm, and the Ace of Cups, which says rebirth. So there is some kind of emotional new beginning for us. So I feel like this foundation that's being laid is giving us the opportunity to change our relationships with people and to maybe change our relationship with ourselves. Like there's some, what I'm seeing is like, okay, we're having this strong foundation and we can put our 2 feet there, and then what's happening is like a cleansing of our emotional system because of that. It's like rewiring our emotional way of being and how we interact in relationships. So that's really interesting. I'm going to get, again, more into this in a second. So, yeah, this full moon, as I said, is making a sextile to Jupiter in the sixth house. So I feel like a lot of what we've done in the past is starting to pay off now. And that's why this foundation is starting to solidify, because the sixth house is a lot of our kind of like, it's very similar to the 12th. We start to pay off like karmic debt in a very practical way there. We are putting in the sweat equity. I was just talking about this in the Virgo. You already put in the sweat equity, and now Jupiter is moving into the sixth house and is finally giving you the blessings for previous efforts. So I don't feel like this is something that you've just suddenly done. Like, I think that this foundation is something you've been building slowly over time. You've been really honing in on how to best take care of your health, how to best set up your daily routine. So maybe that's how many hours you're working, what time you're waking up, how you're speaking to yourself daily. It's like all the little things that you've done up to this point, all the hard work that you've put in to mastering yourself, mastering your day, mastering your work, is leading you to this foundation. And this foundation is also equally supporting those new changes that you've made or that work you've put in. So the sweat equity is paying off to build a foundation, and then the foundation is then supporting you to help you create that consistent schedule or that way of being that is in alignment with your higher self. So it's like they're both feeding into each other in a really mutually beneficial way. What's the name of, like, it's not like a parasite, but when they like live on you and you guys both benefit from each other, I feel like it's not mutually beneficial. Symbiotic, in a symbiotic way. It's like these things are an organism that's kind of like united and is working together. You guys almost just said orgasm. It could be that too. I mean, whatever. Okay, you guys also have Mercury in your ninth house making a trine to Saturn in your fifth house. So I love this. I love the fifth and the ninth houses. I love trines. I even love Mercury and Saturn together. I mean, in a positive aspect. It's like Mercury and Saturn is helping us plan. It's helping us get serious and commit to things in the future. Especially with Mercury in the ninth house, this is our long-term vision for our future. This is stuff that we are excited about, that feels like personal growth, that feels like we're extending beyond our comfort zone. So we're trying new things. We're stepping onto new horizons. We're challenging ourselves in new ways. That's Mercury in the ninth, but it's trining Saturn in the fifth. So there is some element here of like our effort that we've been putting in actually feels like it's becoming fun now, especially because the fifth house has a lot to do with like playfulness and things that we're creating that bring us joy. It's almost like that creative energy and the effort that we've put into cultivating it, or the effort that we put into making something, it's like it's feeling really good. It's feeling really optimistic, and it's also helping push our boundaries. So I feel like these things are, again, working together in a super symbiotic, mutually beneficial way. So I love that. You guys also have Venus moving through your 10th house of career. So this is generally positive to help you attract more opportunities in your career, more financial abundance, more people. People are going to be magnetized to you. So if you have an online presence, there's more people following you now. There's more views on your videos, or there's more customers coming into you. Or if you work for a company, this is your higher ups finally giving you that credit for all the hard work that you've been putting in. These are people finally giving you the recognition, the accolades, the support that you've been looking for. If you've been finally wanting like that next like promotion or something like that, like those are things finally starting to come in. And it's making a trine to Neptune in the sixth. So I feel like a lot of this has to do with, again, that effort that you've been putting in previously, and people are finally starting to become empathetic towards it. It's like people are finally starting to see it and recognize the effort that you put in. That's what I feel like with Neptune. What is going on with me today? That's how I feel with Neptune. Is like it's a very compassionate, empathetic, understanding, and intuitive energy. So it's like people are finally tapping into that and seeing everything that you've done up to this point, and they're like, wow, how have I not noticed? Libra has been doing so well at this thing. He's been giving so much effort into this. Like, let's finally give them some applause and some respect of your life. And however, Venus is also opposing Pluto in the fourth. So you guys might be encountering some challenging situations in terms of relationships as well, because yeah, I mean, Pluto in the fourth, yeah, you guys might encounter some challenging situations in regards to like your home, um or your relationship with your family members. Like maybe somebody is like, or even somebody at work. So like you might be receiving more recognition, but you also might be like receiving maybe like too much responsibility, and they're trying to like overburden you, and you're like, wait, no, but this is what I'm responsible for, and you're like putting too much on me, because like Pluto can be this kind of overextending energy, this kind of controlling energy. And if it's occurring in the workplace or in the home, it's like you're giving too much, you're given too much. Like it's like they're controlling your time in the sense that you don't have the ability to like dictate your own schedule. I'm gonna pull some cards on this. What is going on? I swear, every time I pull cards to clarify this Venus opposing Pluto, I'm getting the Death card. So there, for every single person, we're letting go of something in this Pluto cycle with Venus. It's some kind of pattern, either in relationships or in money or in work or in home. I specifically say work and relationships and money because of Venus, work and home because fourth house is the home and Venus is in the 10th house of work. So it's something in those areas that we're letting go of, that we're transforming, that no longer works for us. It's outdated and it's not benefiting us. The Three of Cups community. Interesting. What is going on here? What is this saying? Three of Cups community. The Three of Cups is like a celebratory energy usually. It's like, and it's also people working together. So this could be your relationship with some people that you work with, that there's some kind of like challenge in that relationship where you have to like stick up for yourself. You have to say something. Or that could be in your home as well. Like there could be something where, you know, you're collaborating with something on your home, or like a family member that you live with, like in your community, is like somehow challenging you. You have to like hold your ground. Seven of Cups choices. Interesting. I also pulled that for the last group when I was clarifying Venus opposing Pluto. So I feel like really what that's iterating is that we have a choice here. Like you have a choice whether you want to let go of either some relationships or some relationship patterns or some struggles that you're having in terms of working with someone, or something in your home or family. You have the option to let it go, or to honestly like keep repeating that cycle. Let me pull. I just feel like this is not clear, so I'm gonna pull a crystal card. All right, this is really interesting, you guys, because I had three cards fall out. So we first have the citrine card. Honestly, this is my favorite crystal. I was really drawn to this when I was younger, and then later I learned that it was all about like manifesting and becoming wealthy and you know, powerful magnet for the things that you want. So immediately when I saw this card, I was like, okay, this is career stuff. But what's interesting is that I also pulled the Bloodstone card, which specifically says things that like patterns that you want to break, that you have inherited from that you've inherited from your family. And so it's really interesting that Pluto is in the fourth house, bringing up those patterns in your relationships that are somehow affecting your work. So I feel like this is some kind of familial thing that you've inherited that is affecting your work in terms of like either people that you relate to in your work or that you work with, or it could be your ability to attract like the wealth and the things that you want in your work. Like there's some kind of familial pattern that is blocking that from fully being successful. And you might have things come to you in your dreams. I think that's probably why I pulled the Seven of Cups. This card talks about dreams. The Seven of Cups has a lot to do with dreams and Neptune energy. You guys might have some information come to you in your dreams about like what this is, even if it's kind of in a symbolic form, which dreams usually are. But yeah, I'm getting the sense that there's some kind of like familial pattern that is blocking your manifestation in your career. We're not blocking it, but that needs to be worked through in order for you guys to fully start to receive more. And I think this could either be in terms of like relationships with people at work, working together with somebody, your money, or just attracting clients into your career. So it's kind of hard to say like what it is exactly, but some manifestation can't fully come through because of these familial patterns that are long overdue to be left behind. All right, let's talk about Mars opposing Saturn. So you guys have Mars moving through your 11th house opposing Saturn in the 5th. So this can be a little bit frustrating in terms of your like schedule, like hanging out with friends and trying to make plans to do fun stuff. Like you might find that your like plans are just kind of like blocked, or you have things come up and it's just like annoying things happening in terms of your like pursuing your joys in life and things like that. Yeah, or maybe you're trying to like, you know, Saturn the 5th is also you building something, creating something like I was saying before, and you might find that like your relationships are like really taking a lot of your energy and you don't have the capacity or the time to actually build and create those things that you want. So there's so many things that can be, but there's some kind of block or frustration either pursuing something that brings you joy, whether that's like work related or friend related and pleasure related. So there's some kind of blockage there. And you guys also have Uranus in the 8th making a square to Saturn in the 5th. So I really feel like as you guys are starting to build and create whatever that thing is, you are ultimately going to really change and transform yourself on the inside out. And I think that's part of what the Scorpio energy is about. You're really going to start to see yourself in a new light. I feel like this is a pattern that's been going on all year and will be exact 3 different times and was exact, I think, on June 14th. And basically, it's just really iterating that the effort that you're putting into something is transforming you on the inside out, is helping you see yourself in a new light, is helping you remove a lot of insecurities, and is helping you receive more than you've ever been able to receive before. So I feel like that's super positive for you guys. I'm excited for you guys, Libra Rising, and I hope that you enjoy this. Please like and comment down below if you do. If you're interested in learning about astrology, how to read your own chart, how to understand your gifts, and really apply that to live out your purpose, then I highly suggest joining the North Node Society, and you can check out more information using the link in the description box below. Bye! All right, up next we have Scorpio Rising. So for you guys, this Capricorn full moon is happening in your 3rd house of communication, of mindset, of transportation, travel, movement, being honestly really busy. And it's making a sextile to Jupiter in the 5th house. This is interesting. I feel like having a full moon in the 3rd house can definitely illuminate a lot of your thought processes. Yes, you might become like very aware of some of the things that you've been thinking and what that might have done for your life or created in your life. And I'm just pulling some cards to go along with the astrology, because I feel like they're both such incredible divination tools and they really help feed into each other and help me understand what's going on here. So yeah, I definitely am drawn immediately to this Nine of Wands resilience card. I feel like you guys are in a longer journey right now. Whenever you're in a longer journey, you just gotta, you have a little ways to go with something that you want, and it can get very trying emotionally, mentally, and that's why you have the strength and resilience card. I mean, it says compassion, but I feel like it's self-compassion. It's self-compassion for where you are along this journey and not trying to rush the process, but also really developing that inner strength and that inner resilience that you need to get to the finish line in a steadfast way. What's interesting is right between these 2 cards, I have the 6 of Pentacles, which says generosity. And this is a lot about both giving and receiving. So kind of creating more of an equality in your life. So that definitely feels important. I'm going to come back to that later because I'm not having like a message come through for that right now. So yeah, I feel like you guys are right now on a longer journey. And I think why this full moon is happening in your third house is it's really here to illustrate your mindset, to illustrate those thought patterns, and to help you develop that resilience of the mind to help you get to that end goal. And the sextile to Jupiter in the fifth, I mean, the fifth house is about like us creating something that we're really excited about, or pursuing something that we feel really excited about, whether that's like a creative project, or whether that's having kids, or dating, or traveling. Like there's usually some element of our own curiosity, our own like excitement around something. So I feel like having Jupiter move through your fifth house is really beneficial. It's telling you that you are meant to create something, or you are meant to pursue that thing that brings you joy. And the more that you work on your mindset around the results or the outcome or being at the end goal, and just kind of enjoy the process, which I feel like Jupiter in the fifth house is enjoying the process of whatever you're going through. I feel like that is ultimately what is going to shift your mindset. Like those two things are playing in together. Like your mindset is shifting so that you can enjoy the process. And as you enjoy the process, it shifts your mindset more. So it's like that resilience. It doesn't have to be this like tough thing. Like it looks kind of tough here, but it doesn't have to be this like tough thing that you have to cultivate. Like, I'm going to be this hard rock that can go through anything. I feel like it's more like, okay, well, I have this long-term vision and I have a lot of bumps along the way, and I do have the strength to surpass those bumps. But between the bumps, like I'm just gliding. I'm enjoying it. I'm thriving in the moment where I am, in the present. And I feel like that's what this is kind of saying. I feel like that could be kind of what the Six of Pentacles is having to do with, this equal give and take. It's like, okay, I'm going to create this. I'm going to put this out, and I want this back. And it's like, maybe you don't have that yet. And so it's like this strength and the Nine of Wands, like this resilience, it's all coming basically as like it's all coming as like a way for you to eventually get to this point of equal giving and receiving. Because up to this point, essentially, I feel like you're giving a lot to something and just being told to enjoy the process. And then later on, once the time is right, you're going to have more equality coming your way. But even Jupiter in the fifth could mean that it's more than just enjoying it. You could start to get signs of things coming in for you, because these cards are sandwiched in between. Because the Six of Pentacles is in between the strength and resilience, I almost feel like you're not going to have to like wait all the way till the end to receive some equality in this. Like I think you're going to get some along the way is what I'm trying to say. And hopefully that will help you enjoy that process even more. You guys also have Mercury in the 8th house making a trine to Saturn in the 4th house. So I do feel like this is really supportive in helping you release some of these like childhood thought patterns. Like Saturn in the 4th is your desire for this really strong foundation. I want stability. I want a house. I want this in my life. Or I want this kind of family. And then Mercury in the 8th is your mindset really being able to work through the shadows. It's being able to work through the insecurities, the doubts, the things that could keep you from attaining that stability in your life in general. And it could help you. These energies are working together. So it's like your desire for stability is in alignment with your shadow work that you're doing on your mindset. It's like as you're doing work on your mind, you become more stable internally in yourself, and you remove those like childhood blockages that could tell you like that you can't have that stability or you can't attain something. And so I feel like they're working together to help reach you towards your goal in a really positive way. You guys also have Venus in the ninth making a trine to Neptune in the fifth. Venus is also opposing Pluto in the third. So this is a part of a very large cycle that you're going on with Pluto in your third, where you're just really rewiring your brain over the course of many, many years, because Pluto's in Capricorn for a hot sec. I can't remember when it moves into the next sign. It's been there for a sec. It's gonna stay there for a sec. So this is a larger cycle going on. So this is a part of the larger cycle. And let me just look up what these two cards mean before I go into that. So I pulled the Chrysocolla card for you guys. And it says it's time to focus on your home environment. Spend time alone cultivating a safe, comfortable space where you can take a break from the world and perform self-care. So I feel like use your home environment as a form of self-expression. Okay. That's interesting because with Saturn in the fourth and this home card, like I feel like it's basically saying that the home is where you're going to have that like that strength, that stability. With Saturn in the fourth, it's helping you cultivate that like safe, stable home for you to build upon. And the Chrysocolla card is almost like it's reminding me of that word. I think it's called chrysalis, when you're like in a cocoon and you're in a cocoon. You're trying to become that butterfly. And so like that's the visual I'm getting, is like you guys being in your home, like in your cocoon, wrapped up, moving through this process where you do need resilience but joy in the process. And the destination, I feel like you can see it, it's there, but right now you're in the home, like you're doing a lot of internal work that's going to get you there, but you're not there yet. So it's like the home is going to be very healing for you. Like that source of stability is very healing and helpful because it allows you to take that time to give yourself this self-love and do that self-care and have that compassion, because there are going to be bumps along the way, and the way to get through it is by loving yourself and having like deepening your relationship with yourself. And that's going to help you become that butterfly that can reach out and grab that ultimate goal that you're working towards. I also pulled the Malachite, which is about, you still got a lot to learn about yourself, babe. Malachite is here to remind you that you're in process. So take it easy on yourself. Isn't this what I was literally just saying? Your guide sent Malachite with a message not to push yourself too hard or be too harsh with yourself. It's okay to be a work in progress. It's your divine duty. Spoiler alert, the process is never complete. Parts of it, of course, become accomplishments, but then new goals and milestones will immediately arise. That's the nature of life. Instead of attempting to become a finished product of perfection, work to polish yourself to evolve into a tool of positivity for your life. Break through old habits that don't honor your rad self, starting with the idea that you need to become perfect, whole, and complete right this second. You are already all these things because you're in process, not in spite of it. When you learn this, your whole world opens up. You guys, that is exactly what I was just saying, because you are in a process right now. Like you are in the chrysalis. You are in the state of becoming. And I feel like the problem is that with this resilience and the strength card, I almost feel like, okay, so there's two messages. Like the first message is that you might have to have that resilience and that strength and all that and enjoy the process, because at this moment you're not seeing all the tangible results from the effort that you put in. It's not equal exchange. So that is true. That's my message from before. But then on top of that, at the same time, I feel like there might be part of you that's waiting to become this person or achieve this thing. And it's like, yes, it's like this energy of like, of waiting to be there, to get there, to achieve it. When what I feel like this card is saying is that your whole life is a process. you're not ever going to just emerge as a butterfly and have all of your goals and all of your dreams and be that perfect person. Like, even once you emerge as a butterfly, even once you start to get equal compensation for what you do, you're going to have another thing that you need to work on. You're going to have another problem come up. You're going to have another thing in your personal life that you need to work on. And it's saying that it's all this longer journey for you, and you will always be striving. If you, like, I mean, it's okay to strive, but I guess what I'm saying is, like, you're going to always be looking for that next thing, or like always waiting until you realize that you are already whole and perfect and wonderful exactly right now, and that the process is life. It's not a destination. And I know a lot of us always say that and everything like that, but this is something that I've had to learn and relearn and relearn, and I'm still learning it. Like, this is something that I think a lot of us struggle with. And I think when you're reaching for something exciting in your life, that is what it feels like. It feels like you just want to be there, but it's a mirage, you know? It's like you're walking in the desert and you see this perfect oasis, and it's just like 100 feet away. But then you get to that 100 feet away and it's still like further away. And it's like you're going after this unattainable thing, and you're going to exhaust yourself or be mean to yourself along the way, like trying to get this thing. I'm not good enough. I'm not there yet. I'm not doing enough. Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, dude, like the whole process of life is that walk. And if you don't enjoy that walk, if you're waiting for that mirage, then you'll never feel that fullness and that satisfaction that comes from just loving where you are in this journey right now. So that's a pretty deep message for you guys. I also pulled the North Node, so I feel like you guys are really on track towards your purpose. If you've been looking for a sign, for a message, if you're doing the right thing, if this long, arduous journey that's requiring so much faith and resilience and compassion with yourself, if you're wondering if this is even the right thing for you, this card is saying that it is, and not to give up. Because sometimes when we're in that desert, it can feel like we start to even question, am I supposed to be here? Am I supposed to be doing this? Like, I don't see the flowers. I don't see the abundance. Like, why am I here? And it's just because you haven't reached that Six of Pentacles energy yet. We're having that equal give and receive, but at some point it's going to come in, and you're going to start to have that mirage kind of come to life. Okay, so Venus in the 9th making a trine to Neptune in the 5th. I can't remember if I just talked about this or not. I feel like I didn't. Venus in the 9th, this is really great because I feel like it's giving you more optimism about that vision of what you're creating with Neptune, the trine to Neptune in the 5th. Whatever you're working on cultivating, that's that process that you're like learning how to enjoy. It's going to help you, the more that you like are in it and enjoying it, like it's going to help you just naturally start to have the longer vision come into play. So the North Node is coming here to say that you're on track. With Venus moving to the 9th, you're going to start to have some things come in that are going to help you realize like what the next step is. And you're going to start to gain more clarity and more vision for the long term of what's going on, even if you don't have that right this second. And however, Venus is opposing Pluto in the 3rd. So I feel like as you start to gain that long-term vision, your mind's going to kick in. It's going to be like, can I do this? I haven't been able to do this in the past, or this issue with my family, or blah, 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 blah. And so it's like the mind needs to do the transforming at that time. Like you're going to have that vision come into focus, and then you're going to have your mind be like, what the fuck? And they're just going to be like at odds with each other, like not helping each other out. So just be careful about that. The mind is what needs to alter at this time, or the communication. I think it's the mind. Mars is also in your 10th house opposing Saturn in the 4th house. So you might feel really motivated for a career right now. You might be like, I got so much I want to do. Mars in the 10th is like, all right, let's go get all this shit done in our career. Let's go after our goals. Let's about this purpose. But then with Saturn in the 4th, it's like, okay, well, you got a lot of responsibilities here at home. You gotta like take care of this person, or you gotta like clean that thing or do that thing, or like you don't actually have the money. You need to focus on like making money, or like creating this foundation, or like you have all these like emotional things that you need to work through, and there's these blockages that are coming up. So that Mars opposing Saturn is about having things that you're trying to do, but there's blockages that come up. So I feel like you're trying to make effort or moves in your career, but there are home blockages coming up. or just emotional blockages. There's some kind of like frustration that comes in that feels like it's delaying you, that feels like it's not as easy as it could be. And so that's just like a general theme for right now. So just keep that in mind. It's temporary. It's going to pass. And then you have Uranus also in the 7th house making a square to Saturn in the 4th. So this is an ongoing square. It's pretty much active the entire year as an undercurrent. It goes exact 3 different times. It went exact on June 14th. And then this square is basically for you saying that a lot of this like work that you're doing on your foundation, on your emotional self, on your sense of security and what makes you feel very stable, that kind of restructuring in your life, that's a long-term thing, is going to impact your relationships. You'll start to see that as you build a different emotional foundation, or uncover like old childhood wounding, or embrace a different type of sense of security. Once you do those things, you're going to have totally different relationships with people. You're either going to attract different people, or it's going to alter the relationships that you currently have and make people show up in a different way for you, because you're showing up in a different way for you. So that's kind of like the longer term thing that's going on. And those internal shifts and shifts in the relationship are going to help ultimately your career and life path. So that's what I'm seeing for you guys, Scorpio Rising. If this resonates, please like and comment down below. If you're interested in learning about astrology and interpreting your own chart and finding out what your North Node and your purpose is and living in alignment with that, then I highly suggest checking out the North Node Society, which I will link down in the description box below. It's a membership where we just convene every month and we have these amazing calls, and there's an astrology course in there. It's just such a great place to be. So I hope that you'll check it out and see what it's about, and I hope you have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have Sagittarius Rising. Ooh, you guys got a lot that wanted to jump out. So this Capricorn full moon is happening in your 2nd house of finances, and wow, you guys have a lot of positive emotional cards. That's really interesting, because normally a full moon in the 2nd house is not like bringing up so much emotion, but I feel like you guys are actually having a lot going on in terms of like emotional fulfillment and relationships. So that's very interesting. Yeah, I definitely feel like those, like if I had a full moon in the 2nd house, I would be expecting to pull all these pentacle cards. And then immediately all these cards are falling out about who you are, how you feel, your connection with others, the choices that you have, cycles ending. So I'm curious to see like where this reading goes. I love full moons in the 2nd house, because that's kind of like when we start to see the checks come in, the resources start to find us. It's like, oh, hell yeah. Like, okay, all this work I've been putting in is starting to pay off. Just gonna final pull all of them. You guys are having a lot of cards fall out, man. And yeah, and this moon is also making a sextile to Jupiter in the 4th. So I feel like you guys, your home life is probably feeling bomb right now with Jupiter in the 4th. Maybe you guys are having more opportunity to, I want to say to travel, like, or move homes. That's a possibility. Might not be that. But Jupiter in the 4th can just generally bring like, I mean, if you are trying to move a home, it would bring you the opportunity to move. Like, it would bring you the house that you're looking for, like the dream house or whatever. But then in terms of like, just if you're staying in the same place, it can bring more harmony to your relationships in the home. It can bring the ability to work from home if that's something that you're looking for. Just generally like very supportive energy in terms of your home and your finances right now, it's looking like. But the key of this moon, though, is that there is hard work required. So it's not like these blessings are just going to drop in your lap out of nowhere. These blessings are from your previous hard work, and you're being asked to continue that hard work in the future. So it's not just like on a silver platter. Okay, so I'll probably get more into that in a second if more stuff comes up with that. But you guys also have Mercury moving through your 7th house of relationships, making a trine to Saturn in the 3rd house. And this is what I feel like a lot of this energy is coming from. So having Mercury in the 7th house can bring about like a focus or concentration of your energy on your partnerships. So you might be more interested in kind of like what other people are doing at this time, the way that you're relating to other people, or just aspects of your partnerships. The trine to Saturn in the 3rd is adding to that, because Saturn being in the 3rd house is all about like working on your mindset and your communication. So this trine is saying that the efforts that you've been putting into working on your mindset around relationship patterns or your communication within your relationships are paying off. You're starting to see more harmony. You're starting to understand one another better. Things are starting to come to fruition out of the things that you've been talking about. So it's like, yeah, I love this, you guys. I pulled the 10 of the Wheel of Fortune, which is a 10, which means the ending of a cycle and the starting of another one. You guys are breaking these patterns of cycles in relationships, especially around communication, and it's leading you to feel real emotional fulfillment with this 10 of Cups. You're able to bond with people on a deeper level. And I also feel like Venus being in your 8th house is helping illuminate maybe where those communication breakdowns are coming from. Like, what shadow is causing you to put up your walls? What part of your childhood trauma is causing you to communicate or react in a certain way, or shut down, or whatever it is that you're doing in partnerships? So Venus moving through there is helping you guys align and understand and grasp what those things are coming from. And it's making a trine to Neptune in the 4th. So I definitely feel like these things are coming from childhood. And Venus in the 8th is basically like taking all that stuff from childhood, bringing it to your awareness and asking you to get vulnerable about it and really have a closer look at what that means for you in your relationships. Like, this communication thing is obviously really important, and you're starting to see those developments, but what is underlying the communication? Why does the communication need to be worked on, or the mindset need to be worked on to begin with? Like, what is underneath all of that? That is what Venus in the 8th, making a trine to Neptune in the 4th, is asking you. Like, let's actually have a look. Let's actually deep dive into that aspect of my childhood, or that pattern from my family, or that thing that I've inherited. Like, if you have a family member that gaslights and you notice that you're gaslighting your partner gaslights you, you are recreating these patterns. And so this is your chance to break those patterns with this cycle card. This is your chance to reach true intimacy, true connection with your partner. And you have the opportunity to do that, but it takes the effort, it takes the diligence to want to examine yourself. Venus in the 8th is opposing Pluto in the 2nd. So I feel like there is kind of this like knee-jerk reaction. And I feel like this is what this moon is actually about. So I'm glad we're revisiting this. I feel like there's a knee-jerk reaction here around creating that sense of security. Like, I'm going to take care of myself. I'll do it myself. Like, I'm not going to talk about this because like it's too vulnerable. It's too exposed. And it's creating these walls or this insulation, or like putting on this really thick layer of protective clothes or fat or whatever it is. Like, there's some element of you like trying to protect yourself. And it can be helpful to also like look at different aspects of your life. Like, in what ways do I try to protect myself? Some people literally do. Like, a lot of people who've been sexually assaulted like will put on certain weight, a certain amount of weight, because it's like a protective methodology that your subconscious uses to be like, to basically be like less available to people, so that people approach you less or something, which just sounds super fucked up, and it is, but like that is a thing that humans literally do. Or there will be people who try to like hoard a lot of things. Like, they want more things, you know, like I want more money or more objects because they have a sense of security or protection with having things. So there's like this element here of accumulating walls or protection mechanisms that are asked to be really highlighted and looked at this time, and also trace back to childhood, because the full moon is in the 2nd house, but it's sextiling Jupiter in the 4th. So the full moon in the 2nd is about those protective mechanisms, the things that you're accumulating for yourself. But the sextile to Jupiter in the 4th is saying that that's not just from you, that's from your family. And it's also saying that you're going to have this really beautiful opportunity to make different decisions, to have different kind of relationships and different ideas come to mind when it comes to those patterns that maybe you've kind of picked up from your family around that protection. So I feel like the Jupiter in the 4th is giving you the blessing of being like, okay, we got this. We're gonna do different things, and it's gonna be easy because Jupiter is here. But it can feel challenging in the sense that you have Venus opposite Pluto. So Venus in the 8th wants you to be vulnerable, but Pluto in the 2nd is kind of reverting back to that childhood self and saying like, no, I want to like protect myself. So you might feel this kind of push and pull at this time, and it's going to be really important for you to meet at least in the middle. You guys will also have Mars in the 9th house opposing Saturn in the 3rd house. So this is also kind of a frustrating energy. Mars wants to move to make progress, and Saturn wants to also make progress, but in such a slow and steady way, looking at every little box to check and making sure that we have everything all lined up before we can take that first step. And Mars is like, no, I want to be at the finish line. I don't even want to look at those boxes. And so there's probably some aspect of you right now where you have like part of you that has like this long-term vision of what you want, and you're like really motivated by it. You want to go do it. Maybe you want to travel right now. Maybe you want to teach something. Maybe you want to study something new, and you're like, you have this vision, you're excited about it, and there's like so much energy for that. But then Saturn in the 3rd house is like, well, actually, like you can't do that because of this, or like you're not like good enough because of this, or you have so much on your plate with this, or you have this responsibility, so you don't have time to travel. Like Saturn is kind of coming in here and sobering us up and being like, well, that actually is not like you have a lot going on. Like that's probably not going to happen or something like that. Saturn is here to just basically create those delays and blockages and create a feeling of frustration. And I feel like that's probably what the 7 of Cups and the 3 of Cups is meaning. Maybe not the 3 of Cups, but the 7 of Cups. I feel like this is saying you have choices. With Saturn in the 3rd house, like the 3rd house is a very busy house. It's a lot of commotion, a lot of activity, a lot of things to do, a lot of responsibilities and places to go and people to see. And I feel like the 7 of Cups is like, okay, you have a lot of choices in your immediate environment. Like you have a lot of things that you need to prioritize. And so those things might feel like they're in conflict with some of like the grander visions that you have, or the more exciting ideas that you have. So I feel like there can be a need for balance at this time between these two aspects, between all of your choices, essentially. You guys also have Uranus in the 6th house making a square to Saturn in the 3rd. So this is an ongoing transit happening all year, exact 3 times. Just went exact on June 14th. So I feel like as you guys are really like laying out all of your options, you're going to see where you need to adjust your routine, where you need to prioritize, and that's Uranus in the 6th. You need to make some changes to your day-to-day, because you have kind of a lot of like maybe different like avenues of your life that are open, different roads, and like some of them need to be closed off because it's getting congested, it's getting complicated. Like I'm kind of imagining like a heart with all these different valves, and it's like too much blood is like going in all these different directions, and you just need to hone it in a little bit and choose what you need to prioritize your time with to get to that longer term vision where Mars is in the 9th house. So there needs to be some kind of like more decisive energy here when it comes to constructing your routine, your day, your activities, where you work, what you do, what you say. All those things need to be like done from a place of more like I want to say like I want to like diligent, not like diligence, but like a little bit more ruthless and like cutting out the things that aren't really getting you somewhere that you want to be long term. So just kind of think about that. That's like the larger thing going on in the background this entire year for you guys. I did pull a bunch of other cards. So let me kind of get into what these mean. I don't really know what the 3 of Cups means yet. So I'm going to set that aside and look at your crystal cards, and we will go from there. And hopefully the 3 of Cups will make more sense. So the first card that I pulled for you guys is the Quantum Quattro. That's interesting, because if you know anything about quantum, like you'll know that the quantum field is where we can actually start to visualize and create what we want through our energy, through our mind. And I feel like, is this not in the deck? That's so weird. There's no Q. Q, R, S, Q. Oh, here we go. You guys, I just don't know the alphabet. Okay. So it's interesting because, like I was saying, this is about, like, the quantum field is about manifesting. Like, you manifest through your visualizations, feeling the energy, creating it before it exists in the physical. And the second house is also about manifesting. So your manifestation powers are probably heightened at this time. And so I think it's more than just like ending these old cycles of communication and everything like that. I think it's also about you starting to manifest things that you're really excited about and having more capability in doing so at this full moon. So let's read what this card says. Though you are a healer, you are not meant to be a fixer. This is a powerful distinction between the two. You can't make someone better, and Quantum Quattro is here to help you see it. You know exactly who this card is referring to, and they need to learn from themselves how to find peace. Okay, so this might be just like a different message for you guys, because you do have a lot of things coming in around relationships. We all do at this time, but I feel like even though you're creating these new cycles and different ways of communicating and thinking, at the end of the day, it takes two people showing up to a relationship to make changes. You can make all the changes you want to yourself. You can show up differently. You can be that different person. But if they're not equally showing up, if they're not wanting to make changes or to call themselves out on their own shit, you can't make them do that. And so I feel like this is basically saying that some relationships won't be able to evolve with you. Even when you're ending these cycles and you're having like really true emotional fulfillment, not all of your relationships are going to be able to transition into that 10 of Cups. Some of them are going to have to fall away because, and that's really what I see a lot with Venus opposite Pluto, is for a lot of us, relationships are going to fall away that aren't aligned. And it's just because those people don't have the capacity, the energetic capacity, the frequency, the work, the prior work that they've done themselves like you have. And so it just is going to hold you back. And it's not something to be mean or anything. It's just is what it is. You know, like some people are just not able to hold that same frequency. I also pulled the selenite. I love selenite. Your body houses 7 centers of energy known as the chakras. You need an open channel along your spine from your crown to your root to pass energy from one to another and to communicate with each other, with your higher self and with spirit. This card comes to you as a sign that it's time to detoxify your precious and perfect being beneath the luminous light of the universe. Okay, so this is about becoming a clear channel. That makes a lot of sense. And so I feel like the Uranus in the 6th house, like those changes that you're making to your daily routine, is also asking you to make changes to your health and to do that like cleansing. So it's not just about your physical body, but it's about your energetic body. So when you're making these changes over this next year, this larger cycle, just ask yourself how you can become more of an open channel. What makes you feel really good energetically? Is it meditating for 15 minutes every morning? Is it doing yoga? Is it going on a walk? Like finding what works for you, because Uranus is unconventional and is tailored to your specific needs. Finding what it is that you need in order to be that clear channel so that you can start to, again, raise your frequency and step more into that quantum field to manifest the things that you want. Lastly, we have the smoky quartz, and it says it's coming here to clear your fears so you can make shit happen. A dissolver and diffuser of negative energy. The smoky quartz can help you bust through negative thought patterns and energy cycles, enabling you to detoxify on every level and optimize you for manifesting magic. That's literally what we were just saying. Detoxify to manifest. That's so weird. This is also talking about breaking those negative cycles, which is exactly that first card. So I feel like this is just reiterating everything we've already said, which is awesome. The last thing I want to say, which is coming through with these 2 cards, is something that I'm not seeing in the astrology right now for you guys, but it's coming through with these cards, so I'm going to say it. You guys got the 3 of Cups and the Aquarius. So these are both about community right here. So it could be that as you start to up-level, detoxify, become an open channel, work on your communication, work on yourself, that you're really going to start to change who you are as a person. And again, some relationships could fall away. As those do, I really am getting the sense that new community is going to come in around you. So you're going to start to find people who are vibrating on that frequency. So even if like those people are falling away and you're really sad about it because you're like, I've had this connection for so long, I want to be with this person or know this person, to hang out with this person still. It's saying that it's saying not to hold on to it, because people who are more aligned are going to come into its place and then give you that true sense of community, a true relationship. And then once they do, you're going to realize what you were holding on to was not worth your time, was not worth your energy, your effort, and it was draining you. And you're going to feel what real support feels like, and it's going to give you that sense of community that you've never had before. So don't be afraid to release some of those old people or those old things in order to step into something higher vibe. So that's what I have for you guys, Sag Rising. I hope that this resonates. Please like and comment down below if it does. And if you're interested in learning about astrology and really deep diving into your own psychology, analyzing your own natal chart, picking out your unique gifts, and using that to really find and pursue your purpose in this lifetime, then I highly recommend you join us at the North Node Society. The link is in the description box below if you want to learn more. I hope you have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have Capricorn Rising. So for you guys, this full moon is happening in your first house of Capricorn. And that's a big one, you guys. Having a full moon in your first house can be very energizing. It can make you feel lots of types of ways, and it can enhance whatever those types of ways are or those feelings are. So just keep that in mind if you're feeling like a little bit more intense at this time, a little bit more volatile, a more emotional. Full moons do that in general, but then when it's a full moon in your house and your sign, you could be feeling like all over the place and just not like yourself, or a little bit concerned for yourself. So just know that that's normal and it's totally okay. It's just part of that process. It's interesting, you guys. You have to have some pretty intense or some pretty significant cards coming up. You have the 10 of Swords ending. That's the very first card that comes up for me. So that's interesting. I feel like there is an ending happening in your life. And this is an ending that I feel like is internal. It's a part of you that is ending, because this full moon is in your first house. It's extremely transformative to yourself, to your character, to the way that you move through life. And so I feel like this ending is to one of those ways that you were living and stepping into a new one. This moon is also making a sextile to Jupiter in the third house. So I do feel like this ending is coming in terms of your thoughts. You're going to have like Moldavite. You're going to have different ways of seeing things, I think, after this moon. Like, I feel like you're going to be opening up to a new version of yourself where you just, see things differently. Grand Cross Provoker. Yeah, this is a lot of change, you guys. A Grand Cross are a bunch of squares together, and a square in astrology indicates a need for change and a creative solution to tension that is building up within you, to some area of your life that's a problem. Yeah, Chiron Healing. I almost never pull this card, you guys. Chiron Healing. So you got a lot of change and a lot of healing coming through. I feel like that ending is allowing you to heal something within yourself that has probably been bothering you for quite some time. So let's take a deeper look at the astrology and see what is going on here to kind of get a fuller picture of what this might mean. You guys have Mercury moving through your 6th house, and this is the house that traditionally has to do with a lot of our work, like working for someone, and it's making a trine to Saturn the 2nd. Good. This is awesome. I feel like you guys are finally, you're in some kind of job, or you're doing some kind of like daily tasks that are creating this greater sense of financial stability for you. And I feel like it's kind of easing your mind a little bit in that respect. Like, you're feeling like money is finally starting to be like a little bit more balanced because of efforts that you've put in previously into something, or because of the job that you have. So Saturn moving through your 2nd can be somewhat challenging in terms of like restructuring and kind of refiguring out your relationship with money and where your income comes from. So this trine with Mercury in the 6th is really positive, saying that like this effort, this energy, these thoughts, these things that you've been doing in terms of your work are all kind of giving you the green light and the go ahead with your finances, maybe in a different way than you've had in the past like year. So that's really positive. You guys also have Venus in the 7th house. Okay, yeah. Venus in the 7th house, which is great for relationships, but it's opposing Pluto in the 1st house and trining Neptune in the 3rd. So sometimes like sitting for these, like I've been probably sitting for at least 2 hours this video, and then like 2 hours the one before, and sometimes like my neck my neck hurts. Anyway, so yeah, Venus in the 7th house is a focus on relationships. Venus is the relationship of planets, the planet of relationships, and the 7th house is the house of relationships. So this is a full focus right now. Whether you're in one or not, it could be any intimate relationship with anyone that you feel closely connected with. Opposing Pluto in the 1st, this is a really big push and pull, like me versus them. And this is like, this can come up with people trying to control you, or where you are trying to control or manipulate others. This can come up and just bring like challenging situations in relationships. There is just some aspect of me versus them instead of the normal us together, you know? And so you might be encountering some difficult situations where one of you feels jealous, where one of you feels frustrated, or where communication is blowing up and people aren't understanding one another, or you there can be just power struggles, like this desire to control the other person, or to just have things be your way in the relationship. So there is this energy going on that does feel pretty negative or pretty intense, but it's being slightly mitigated by Neptune in the 3rd. Having a trine between Venus and Neptune brings a lot more compassion and understanding, specifically to your level of communication with somebody. So, and even your mindset, because Neptune's in the 3rd house of communication and mindset. So even though these events are taking place and there's lots of feelings going on right now between you and this person, or you and multiple people, it could be a whole thing going on in your life with many people. But generally, a lot of us, it's just going to be us and one other person. But that is going to receive the support from you being a little bit more compassionate, you being a little bit more gentle in your communication methods. I don't feel like this is going to be as cutthroat if it were just on its own. If it were on its own, I could see like really big like blow-ups or just like negative energies occurring between people and not really resolving itself well. But with the trine to Neptune in the 3rd, you have the opportunity to create a compassionate understanding between the two of you. And it's possible that some relationships could end because of this card here, but it doesn't have to be a relationship. I kind of feel like for most of us, or for most of you guys, it's going to be about endings within yourself, like endings surrounding relationship patterns, or your thoughts or beliefs around relationships. Those I feel like are the things that are ending, and they're changing you on the inside. That's really what I'm feeling for this, but some of it might be externalized for some of you. And you guys also have Mars in the 8th house, and this is opposing Saturn in the 2nd. So Mars in the 8th can create... Yeah, this is interesting. I feel like Mars in the 8th house can kind of like stimulate some of our childhood trauma that we've kind of stored away from the past. Like the 8th house is where we keep that trauma and where our shadows lie, and where we, like when we communicate with others, those shadows like get in the way because the 8th house matters. So Mars being in a house stimulates it. So it often shows us like our ambition as well. So it doesn't just like give it energy, but it also gives us a desire to make changes in that area. So I do feel like you guys are like this, the patterns that you're addressing in your relationship, you do have the desire to like leave some of these past influences in the past and stop allowing it to trickle into your current relationships. But with the opposition with Saturn in the 2nd house, I also feel like there's part of you that really desires to just like be very stable, and like I was kind of explaining this with someone else, like do things on your own, have your own financial stability, not be vulnerable, and just kind of like protect yourself. So there's going to be part of you that wants to be vulnerable, to overcome these things, to release the past, to share and open up. But it's also like Mars in the 8th is also kind of triggering those things at the same time. So it's like, even though you want to do it, you're feeling them really intensely, and you might kind of like want to close off or block yourself with Saturn in the 2nd and not allow yourself to go deep within that. Or you might find that when you start to talk about some of those things, that you like that it's not received in the way that you want it to be received. Although with Neptune in the 3rd house, I kind of feel like the communication will go well. I'm just getting the sense of like wanting to go deep and then like pulling back, and like wanting to go deep and then pulling back, and like this like push and pull between being vulnerable and really going there into the shadow and like not wanting to go there at all. So that is definitely a theme that's coming up right now. You guys also have Uranus in your fifth house making a square to Saturn the second. This is an ongoing transit. It is exact 3 times this year. It just went exact June 14th. And this is a big one because Saturn is your chart ruler. So having this constant interaction with Uranus is basically saying that there is a lot of change and stimulation trying to occur in your life. So like there's a lot going on in terms of change for you guys, just as a human being, because when your chart ruler is impacted by a planet like this all year, a planet of so much change, it's like saying that you and your life are being impacted by change this whole year. So even though everyone is, like, you guys are to a deeper extent. And I feel like a lot of this this change that you're going through is going to help you live in like a more lighter way, because Capricorns, you guys have had Saturn in your sign recently, restructuring things for you guys. You still have Pluto in your sign. You're going through the previous year, you're going through all these eclipses, so you guys have done a lot of this like heavy work. And I feel like this Uranus in the fifth house squaring Saturn is helping you get to a place where that work that you've done on yourself is going to help you ultimately like create a lightness in your life where you're able to do things that bring you joy and attract more like situations that bring you joy, just like really lightening up your load. That's kind of what I'm seeing with that as like a larger cycle going on. Let's look at some of these cards here because I really haven't been like diving into them at all. So again, I feel like I talked about the ending card. I do think that there's some kind of ending specifically within you around relationship patterns. It could honestly be a lot more than just that, because full moons do represent endings in general and like a new cycle starting. So I feel like you could have a lot going on in your life that's like ending or rejuvenating at this time. And then after the ending, what card do we have next? We have the Two of Wands, the planning card. So it's like you're immediately jumping into planning mode. You're not just like ending this thing and then in this like weird transition. The transition for you is planning and then immediate action with this leadership card here, the King of Wands. This is you taking action, going after what you want. Like I'm not seeing any element here of like stagnation. I feel like once you make these decisions to end these cycles, it's going to release like all these burdens of this backpack, and you can immediately jump into the next phase where you can start planning and going after things that you want. And I actually feel like they're really career oriented. I'm not getting that it's a relationship, although it's possible. Like the Three of Pentacles, it could be relationship with going on with like 3 people, but it could be you like working with somebody and creating something together with somebody else. But that's a feeling that I'm getting, like you guys are creating these endings around your relationship patterns and then immediately taking like planning what that long-term goal is, like planning your next steps, stepping into more of a leadership position, working with other people to create what you want, and starting to see some of those things kind of manifest for yourself. I do think that that's work related, but for some of you, it might specifically be in relationships. Like you end these patterns and you start planning your long-term future with somebody. You start stepping up as more of a leader in your relationship, saying what you want, saying what you don't want. And then it creates this like collaborative energy between you guys where it feels like it's this beautiful, supportive equality occurring. I also pulled the Moldavite card. This is interesting because this is a crystal that's, I mean, I say crystal, but I think it's a meteor. So let me just read what it says. Have you ever felt like you're from another planet? Do you find it hard to be a human being? Moldavite is a cure. Formed when a meteor hit the Earth, Moldavite is a symbol of where the cosmos met the Earth. As if that poetic purpose wasn't grand enough, it's here to help humans transition into an age of unity, healing, and oneness. It forms a line of connection for communication between the human mind, the higher self, the universe. Your guides have presented this card as a metaphor for you yourself. You are a significant link in this chain of divine dialogue. No wonder why you don't quite feel at home. You're a child of the cosmos. You're here as a spiritual teacher, destined to bless the earth with your wisdom, knowledge, and insights. Okay, so I feel like this is basically saying you're going to step up more as that leader. So if you are into any spiritual work, this is confirmation that you're definitely on the right path. Doesn't have to be spiritual work. Anything that you feel like you have come here for a purpose to help humanity in some respect, this is the confirmation that that is like whatever is coming to mind right now, that is part of your purpose. And I see you stepping more into that with this planning, leadership, and collaboration card. I just think that there has to be some like relationship shifts before that can happen. So that's what I'm seeing for you guys. If this resonates, please like and comment down below. And if you guys are interested in learning about how to interpret your chart, how to understand your psyche based off of your birth chart, how to really pull out your unique gifts and maybe where you struggle, and how to pursue your purpose based off of those gifts, then I highly recommend checking out the North Node Society. There's a link in the description box below. It's a membership I just started, and it's such a fun place to be, and I hope to see you there. Bye. All right, up next we have Aquarius Rising. So for you guys, this full moon in Capricorn is happening in your 12th house. Interesting. The 12th house is a very isolated, reflective, spiritual house where you're meant to typically take some time alone, meditating or being out in nature, just kind of like detoxifying from the world around you. And the first card that I pulled was the Hermit card, which is exactly that. Seeking truth by having enough time to go within by yourself to fully comprehend what your truth is without so much outside stimuli. This full moon is also making a sextile to Jupiter in your second house. So you can be going within to sort of start re-examining your relationship with your self-worth or with your finances or your sense of stability. Or maybe you going within and taking this time will result in a greater sense of self-worth and a greater sense of finances and stability. So I feel like those are kind of going hand in hand at this time. You guys also got the Queen of Wands, which is determination. It's interesting that you have such an action-oriented card after a very slow, peaceful, like, card of rest, essentially, going within. So I feel like this full moon happening in your 12th is maybe preparing you for some greater action that you're going to be taking later on. And things are probably going to get moving in a really quick kind of way, because that's what wands represent, is like this quick energy. So this could be like the rest before the storm, the calm before the storm, as they say. You guys also have Mercury in your 5th house making a trine to Saturn in your 1st. So I feel like if you guys have been wanting to create something, and you've been working on building something of your own, or even if you've just honestly been wanting to just like lighten up a little bit and like enjoy life and kind of focus on relaxing, spending time with the people that you love, doing like things like going out, having a drink, this is a great time to do that. I feel like you've been doing so much work on yourself as a person. That's what Saturn in the 1st house is a lot of self-analysis, a lot of just you trying to step up into a greater leadership position in your life, taking control of things in your life that maybe you've kind of just like let go, let slide, and then taking them back in your hands and manipulating them to be the person, to become the person you want to be. So it's like this effort on working on yourself and your reactions and your behavior and your thoughts and all that. I feel like all that's really paying off, and it's allowing you to like lighten up a little bit and enjoy the fruits of your labor. Enjoy just spending time with people, like traveling or having a drink, like I was saying, or dating or sex or whatever you want to enjoy. I feel like your efforts are basically being rewarded. The Judgment card, Reckoning. Interesting. I wonder what that Judgment is. So while those things are all really positive up to this point, we do have some more challenging things coming through with Venus opposing Pluto. You have Venus in your 6th house and Pluto in your 12th house. And Venus is also making a trine to Neptune in the 2nd, which is really beneficial because this Venus opposing Pluto is always challenging in terms of relationships or self-worth or a relationship with money. I actually feel like you guys... Okay, so I'm actually going to pull some cards specifically about this Venus opposing Pluto because I've done that for a few other groups when it wasn't super clear to me what this might be for you. The Devil. Okay, yes, that makes so much sense now. Curiosity, Page of Swords. I kind of want to take these two top ones. Page of Lightning, King of Cups. All right, so Venus in the 6th house opposing Pluto in your 12th. I'm definitely getting the feeling that there's some... you might be like getting in your head about relationships or money or both, or this could be just about your self-worth. So like Pluto in the 12th house can draw... Pluto in the 12th house is somewhat challenging because Pluto tends to like hold things in and suppress them or not bring them to light, and the 12th house does the same. So a lot of this is like patterns, emotions, traumas, memories, all those things kind of being pushed down and compacted and not brought to light with Pluto in the 12th. But it's being stimulated by Venus now moving to the 6th house. And whenever Pluto is stimulated, it will bring some of those things to the surface. So you might have some old things surfacing, and that's probably why this full moon is all about you honestly having some time to rest and reflect, because you need to integrate some of the things that are coming up. Like you need to process and then integrate them. And the Devil is about where we're restricting ourselves. And the 6th house also feels like a very kind of, has a lot to do with like Virgo energy, where we can be a little bit critical and like perfectionistic about things, and we work really hard for stuff and we don't always see things in return. It's just like a lot of giving, not a lot of receiving. It's a lot of being hard on ourselves but not giving ourselves a lot of compassion. And so I feel like those are some of the things that are going to come to light at this time, and it may be in regards to relationships and money, because it is for some people, but it might just be because of Venus, but it might just be like this in general. Like you might just have some of like more general things coming up like that in your life. It doesn't have to specifically be about relationships and money, but I feel like those things will come to the surface and you're being asked to look at them very curious and explore them, like coming at it from a non-judgmental space. I think that's very, very important. I got an email from someone recently, and I love the way that she phrased this in the subject title. She said, "The explorer," or something like that. The explorer and not the judge. So it's like we're here to examine, to explore, to be curious about our nature, our insecurities, our shadows, our negative thoughts, all of those things, but we're not supposed to do it from a place of shaming ourselves or giving ourselves a hard time. And I feel like Venus in the 6th house, Pluto in the 12th, and Venus in the 6th could bring that up, and your knee-jerk reaction might be to tackle those things in a really like constructive way that is also somewhat critical, maybe too critical. And I feel like what this is trying to say is that this is like a longer journey that you're meant to explore, and to be kind with yourself as these things do come up around the moon. So if you do notice like some shadow sides coming up, allow them to be, and give yourself a lot of compassion and understanding for that. And you guys, this Venus is also making a trine to Neptune in your 2nd house. So I feel like if you can show yourself that compassion, it's going to help you build up your confidence. It's going to help you build up your belief in yourself and your abilities and your skills and your ability to manifest what you want and create more finances for yourself. Like all those things are going to start to, they're going to be enhanced if you can first approach all of these things that are coming up from a place of love and compassion. And I also pulled the King of Cups, which says emotional maturity. And I feel like that's exactly what this is. It's helping you become more emotionally mature with all these things by moving through them and loving yourself through it. And you're kind of like up leveling emotionally within yourself, which feels really exciting because that's what the 12th house is. It's all like internal stuff that we've accumulated, and now you're starting to like sift through some of that, and it's allowing you to mature into like a newer person because you're sifting through the old and throwing some of it away, and now you have more room to receive new things. You guys also have Mars in the 7th house opposing Saturn in the 1st house. This could feel a little frustrating. You might be like wanting relationships at this time, or the opposite. You might be wanting to focus on yourself at this time, and relationships are kind of coming in here and taking a lot of your energy and your time. Or maybe it's the opposite, because oftentimes where Mars is where we're motivated, where we want to see progress. So you might feel like you want to see progress in certain relationships with people, but then there's like aspects of things that you need to work on within yourself that are getting in the way. Like Mars wants to move forward and Saturn wants to move forward too, but in such a slow, steady way that it wants to overcome every block, every obstacle. It doesn't want to leave any stone unturned. It wants to put all the effort there. And so I feel like there is something here in terms of relationships that aren't progressing the way that you want them to. And you might feel a little bit frustrated, but like actually what's going on is that you are a big part of the reason it's not progressing, because things need to be worked through within yourself. But that could be frustrating for you. So just be really patient again and very kind with yourself, and allow things to just kind of take their time. If it's not progressing the way that you want, if you're getting some setbacks or some discord with people, or things just aren't panning out how you hoped, just know that that's normal for this time, and then the opposition is going to move. Things are going to start being relieved after this. So it's not this huge ongoing thing, but it can be frustrating at the time of this moon. You guys also have Uranus in the 4th house making a square to Saturn in the 1st. So as you're working on yourself a lot, I feel like your home and your family and your foundation and even your like emotional self is going to change. So like the effort that you're putting in to kind of tackle these issues is really changing you from the foundation up. So this might mean you, like as you change, you realize like you're meant to live somewhere else. Like maybe you've always lived in the city, and then you start working on these different aspects of yourself and getting to know yourself really deeply, and you realize I actually feel better when I'm in nature. Let me move to a natural place. Or it could literally be anything. There's some element here of your foundation shifting. This is a long cycle. It's not happening at this moon. It's a very long cycle over the course of the entire year. So you just might realize that your home life or your emotional foundation or your family or your desires around home and family will shift over this next year. That's very, very likely to happen. Okay, I pulled this crystal card for you guys. Herkimer. Never heard of that. I'm going to look up what this means, and we'll see how this plays into what I was saying. Okay. Through the clarity of Herkimer, it's easier to see yourself as you truly are. You're being invited to stop striving to become anyone other than yourself. There's nothing to fix, change, or become. Desiring to be anyone but yourself is a tragic waste of your unique brand of magic and splendor. So this crystal opens up your crown chakra to help you see that you are a divine child of the cosmos. And you're one of a kind. Only you can do what you want to do. Okay, so this is basically telling you to own your authenticity. So this could be something that is coming up with the Venus opposition to Pluto and Mars opposition to Saturn. There could be some element here of maybe like an old pattern of you maybe adapting to your environment and trying to become what you think other people want you to become to get along, to create harmony. And I feel like what this is saying is that it's time to choose you. Like Mars in the 7th opposing Saturn in the 1st. Like it's important for you to choose yourself. I mean, at the end of the day, you want to meet somewhere in the middle, right? But like you want to choose relationships that allow you to be yourself. And sometimes we do have those relationships, but it's like limiting beliefs in those old patterns. And this is Venus opposite Pluto, these old patterns from childhood where we think that we can't be ourselves and we hold things back, or we don't say our opinion, or we are really flexible and we're really open when really we have an opinion or a desire and we just don't feel confident to state that. So I feel like this is you kind of trying to release any of those like people pleasing tendencies and the desire to belong and to fit in, which sometimes Aquarius, you can have this feeling of being different. And so sometimes that can make an Aquarian want to belong and do things to belong, even though they were meant to be different. So it's really just about finding the people who accept those differences and recognizing when you're the one who's blocking yourself from showing those differences and it's not the other person. Because sometimes it is the other person and not open to receiving it, but a lot of the times they are open to receiving it, but you're blocking yourself because of those like childhood traumas or those limiting beliefs that you're not going to be accepted if you show your true colors, or if you're different, if you're weird, or if you state what you want. There's like this element here of shining your light and releasing any of those relationship patterns where you're not fully owning yourself, your desires, your authenticity in the moment in the relationship. I also pulled the ninth house card and this judgment card. This is really interesting because the judgment card, it says reckoning, in the ninth house. They kind of give me similar vibes. Like when the ninth house is like the religion house. It's where like I think of if Christianity were gonna fall in a house, it would be the ninth house. And then reckoning, this judgment card is like, okay, when you die and you're like at the doors of heaven and like they're like, okay, you did this and you did that, like, are you gonna come, are you gonna go? That kind of like the final judgment of your acts, of your deeds, of your service. And this ninth house, like I feel like these are somehow like related to each other, where, and also the 12th house too is quite spiritual, and like it can represent like death. So this is interesting. I kind of feel like there is some aspect of your life now where you're almost like having a full review. That's what I feel like the ninth house is like. You're having like this larger vision of what's going on and what has happened in the past. And the judgment card is asking you to really review all of it and decide. When you're having this meditation, this full moon in the 12th house, you have this time alone, you have this time to really reflect. Like start to review these things in the past, like over your life, like go back over your old relationships, look at how you've interacted with other people, and really make the judgment call. Like, okay, is that something that I want to keep doing? Was that a good decision in the moment? What came of that? Like that moment where I made that call, how did my life start to change from that? And was it beneficial? Was it not beneficial? And like actually go back and like review some of these things that you've decided or that you've done in the past, so that you can make different choices moving forward. And I think that's probably what this seek truth is. And like the ninth house is like, what is your truth? It's time to own your truth, your authenticity, but be really honest with yourself about when you haven't done that and how you can make changes to that moving forward. I feel like I want to pull two more cards. Yeah, Four of Cups. It literally says contemplation. Yeah, I feel like that's exactly what's going on. I feel like you guys are being asked to contemplate at this time. And then once you're done with that, you'll have the Queen of Wands and you can take all this action. You can move forward. You can make progress on your goals. But in the meantime, a lot of what you're supposed to do around this full moon is a lot of like contemplating, internal work, reviewing the past, assessing how you are in relationships, how authentic you are. And then I feel like once you've done this full analysis of yourself, you'll be able to start working towards something really long-term, really based off of a very strong foundation that's going to get you somewhere that feels good, that feels totally in line with you. Because if you continue on this path trying to please people or trying to like hide part of who you are, or not being fully yourself in a relationship and asking for your desires and needs, expressing your opinion, if you don't do those things, the foundations that, like the things that you're building are all on a foundation of falsehood. It's going to crumble at some point when you start to break inside because you're not being totally authentic to who you are. And that's why I pulled the Seven of Pentacles, because after you do this contemplating, you make these changes, you make these judgment calls, then you can start to work on the Seven of Pentacles, which is a long-term foundational thing. You just build it one step at a time. And so I love that. I feel like it's something that's going to bring a lot of fruits of your labor in the future, and you're going to be so happy that you took this time at this moon to really go within and determine what isn't working anymore in your relationships. So that is what I'm seeing for you guys. Just remember to choose you and really express your authenticity and not try to belong. As an Aquarius, you're not meant to belong. You're meant to start new trends. You're meant to get to convince people of your way. The ones that are interested. It's not our job to convince people of stuff, but the people will follow you. You are the trendsetter. So if you're trying to belong, if you're trying to fit in, you're doing yourself a disservice, because you're meant to stand out. So that's what I'm seeing for you guys, Aquarius Rising. If this resonates, please like and comment down below. And if you're interested in learning about astrology, if you want to read your own natal chart like I could read your chart, if you want to predict upcoming events, if you want to understand what your unique gifts are and what your North Node or your purpose is in this lifetime, then I highly recommend checking out the North Node Society, which is a membership I just started, and it's linked down in the description box below. And I hope you have a great day. Bye. All right, and lastly, we have Pisces Rising. So for you guys, this Capricorn full moon is happening in your 11th house of friendships, networks, groups, long-term goals, hopes and wishes. Basically, it can be a lot about connecting with people who will help you reach those goals as well. So it can feel very like social in a lot of ways. So you can be feeling more social at this time, and it's awesome because Jupiter is in your first house right now, transiting your ascendant, because it's at the very beginning of Pisces. Depends on what degree your ascendant is in. But regardless, Jupiter moving through your first house is extremely beneficial in helping you to basically start to get some more positive outlook on life, first of all. To also get some more opportunities to attract the people and the things that you want. Definitely feel like that's coming in for friends. So if you've been feeling like you don't have that community that you want, or you've been wanting to achieve certain things, like I definitely feel like the universe is going to start giving you more opportunities for those hopes and wishes that you have, or for those friendships and networks and groups that you want to create. So it could be one or it could be both. So, okay, let's pull some cards. Come on, why aren't any falling out? You know what? Let's just do this. Oh, that was not a good idea. Okay, you guys can't see, but they all just like spill over. All right, we've got the... Why does this keep happening? I keep getting the same cards for all the groups. Okay. All right. So yeah, on top of this, you guys have Mercury moving through your 4th house, making a trine to Saturn in the 12th. So yeah, Mercury in your 4th is interesting because the 4th house is a lot to do with our home, our family life, as well as like our emotional stability and emotional patterns that we've inherited from our family. So I feel like your mind is going to be focused more on this at this time, especially because I did pull some Cups cards and Shadow Work card. I definitely feel like you guys are your mind is focused on going through some emotional processing. And with the trine to Saturn in the 12th, I feel like you're allowing yourself to maybe release some stuff that came from your childhood or from your family. Specifically where you felt like you couldn't get your needs met. And I feel like you have with this need card, I feel like some of the things that you're releasing from childhood or from your family are around you having to like do stuff to get your needs met, or to like prove yourself, to prove your worth to yourself that you deserve what you need. You could have this come up in other areas of your life, you know, like this could be coming up in anything, especially around relationships, because of Venus and Pluto opposition. Like your friendships, your relationships, you might feel like you need to like be this like perfect person in order to get what you need. And I feel like you're releasing some of these shadows, like the shadow work and the walk away. I feel like there might be some like toxic relationships or toxic patterns that you're living out, that you feel like you have to be someone to get your needs met. You have to do something to get your needs met. And I feel like that's kind of what you're walking away from. I pulled the dioptase. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. That crystal. And this card says, the dioptase comes to let you know that the answers you need are already within you, a partner to the heart chakra. Dioptase tunes into your ultimate inner GPS to connect you to answers from your place of compassion and emotional truth. Become still and tune into yourself to problem solve and find solutions. You're asking these vital questions of yourself for a reason, and the answers are ready to come forward. And this crystal will help them come to light. It's time to stop believing the bunk idea that you don't have what it takes to achieve your highest potential. This crystal will help you release worn out patterns, attitudes, and energy that help you find your next steps. And it guides you to your innate knowledge and power. And then this one is about self-love. So I definitely feel like you guys are being asked to really like tune into yourself right now, because I feel like you have a lot more answers than you realize when it comes to certain situations. But sometimes when we feel like we have to be someone or do something to like be accepted by others or to get what we need by others, it's like we can tend to discredit our inner knowing. We become what people need us to be. This is kind of what I was saying for the last one. So this might not be like true for everyone here, but I just wanted to say it because it was coming to mind. I feel like that could have been like a past problem with you guys, and I feel like now you're releasing that. You're stepping into this energy of self-love and of trusting your own inner wisdom and meeting your own needs. And that's a very empowering place to be, when you can have your own needs met through yourself. You can walk away from toxic patterns, relationships, events, people, things that aren't satisfying you, because you're filling up your own cup and you're addressing any shadows or things that are getting in the way, that are keeping you in this lack mentality, or not trusting yourself, not feeling like you know the answers. Like you know, but you just have to love and trust yourself enough. And that's like what you're currently working on, and you're helping yourself release some of those things, those old patterns or those old relationships. You guys also have Venus in the 5th house, and it's making a trine to Neptune in the 1st. However, Venus is also opposing Pluto in the 11th. So Venus in the 5th, Pluto in the 11th. This, again, can be challenging, of like Pluto in the 11th. I think this is why I was thinking this, because Pluto in the 11th is like a lot of control or manipulation or emphasis or energy put onto like the group think. The 11th house is belonging to a group, fitting in, having that sense of community. And so, but Pluto's very highly influential over us. So having it move through there can put you in contact with people or friends or groups or anything like that, where there might be like more pressure, even if it's all unconscious, to behave or to think or to act in a certain way. And then Venus in the 5th house is like, well, I am doing what brings me joy, and I am pursuing things that feel fun for me and thinking about myself and my desires and not the group, not the other. So it's like there are two of these things in opposition within you. It's like you pursuing you, doing you what is exciting for you, thinking what you want to think, saying what you want to say, spending your time the way that you want to spend it, and then thinking of others, thinking of your friends, thinking of how other people are going to be impacted by your choices. And they're kind of like this push and pull between the two right now. But Venus is making a trine to Neptune in the first. So I feel like you're meant to definitely like choose the like make decisions based off of what makes you feel like you're filling up your cup first. Neptune in the first is you giving yourself the love, the compassion, the understanding, the time, the space, the energy that you need to thrive as a human. And so put your energy and focus onto that, and then you can show up in your relationships strong in who you are. And those relationships will either fall away if they're toxic and they want you to be someone that you're not, or they will go in line with you and they will start to adapt to the self-love that you're giving yourself, and they will give you that love and compassion, understanding that you're giving yourself. So they will level up or they will fall away. And that's something that I've seen with a lot of these readings so far with Venus opposite Pluto, is relationships are going to level up or fall away at this time as you focus on your own needs. I also have the King of Cups here. So I feel like as you start to do that and you show yourself this self-love, you're going to reach new heights in your understanding of yourself and your happiness, because you're going to start to get more control over how you're feeling. You're going to feel like things don't just sweep you up off your feet anymore and just blow you all around in the wind or in the tides. It's like you have this centered self because you're filling up your own cup and then moving out into the world and interacting with others. So others don't have as much of a sway on you because you're so solidified in your own stability, emotional stability, and emotional maturity, because you take that time to make decisions for yourself, to fill your cup. So it's really interesting because I also have this kind of like work message going on, which feels completely separate, but maybe it's not, who knows. Everything in life is connected, right? So you guys have Mars in the 6th house opposing Saturn in the 12th. Mars in the 6th is work oriented. It's being really driven to get our daily tasks done. And yeah, if you're working for somebody, it's like having a lot of tasks to do, or like a lot of motivation to do all those tasks. But then with Saturn in the 12th making an opposition to this, there's a need for you to spend the effort and the time to go within and do some of this like clearing up of the shadows of this feeling that you need to be someone or believe something or be a certain way to belong. That needs to be attended to, basically. And that might feel like it's at odds with your busy schedule, with all these tasks and responsibilities that you have. So there's this opposition here where you might feel like frustrated that you don't have the energetic capacity to dedicate to both. Like you might have to work and it's like, well, I work all day and then I come home and I'm exhausted. Like the last thing I want to do is start journaling for an hour about all my family stuff and all this stuff from childhood and my relationship patterns and all this. It's like, there's only so much time in a day. And so you might feel this kind of like frustration that you have a lot going on in that area. But I think part of what will help this is actually the square happening between Uranus and Saturn. This square is ongoing all year. So it is exact. It's pretty much like a larger cycle or a larger theme that's happening this year, but it's exact on 3 different dates. And one of them was on June 14th. So I feel like as you begin to start to do like a little bit of that shadow work, what I feel like is going to happen is that your mindset is going to start to shift. And it's incrementally all year, but probably like exponentially on the dates that it's exact or around those times. You'll have experiences that help you go within and then create larger shifts in your mindset. And what's going to happen is I feel like it's going to be this like ball rolling down the hill. Like at first it feels very arduous with Saturn in the 12th. Like, oh, I have to like sit, I have to meditate, I have to journal, I have to take this time. It's like effort, it's like a lot of effort. And then I feel like it's going to change your mind, and your mind is going to start creating a new reality. And it's like that snowball going down the hill. It starts accumulating more and more and more snow with less effort, and it's just gliding along, becoming bigger, better, and stronger. And so I feel like that's what's happening is like, even though you might feel like they're at odds right now, you don't have a lot of time to dedicate to it, even just a little bit of time that you can dedicate to it is so helpful, because it's going to shift your mindset, and then that's going to kind of take on a life of its own. And then I feel like you guys are going to step more into this energy of like Gemini, where you're trusting your knowledge and your new mindset shifts. And then the Queen of Wands, where you're taking action on those new mindset shifts. And you're just becoming a new person because your thoughts are different and the actions that you take are based off of those thoughts. So you're going to start to see things kind of like do an upward spiral, is the sense that I'm getting. But you have to put in a little bit of this work initially. So I do feel like the shifts that are happening for you as the full moon is in your 11th house is around your feeling of belonging and your way of interacting with others. And your relationships might evolve and change as a result of the way that you view yourself and the way that you fill up your own cup at this time. So that's what I'm seeing for you guys, Pisces Rising and Pisces Sun. If you like this, please like and comment down below. If you're interested in learning about astrology, how to interpret your own chart, how to really find out what your own unique gifts are, and pursue your purpose in this lifetime using your unique gifts, then I highly recommend checking out the North Node Society, a membership that I just started, and it's linked down in the description box below. I hope you have a great day. Bye.